Oh, hello. Welcome to Inches and Cubes, your Toronto-based Warhammer 40k podcast. As always, it's me, Point and Click Nick.
Me, Adam the Truest Axe.
And we have a very special guest, the reigning Hogtowner champion.
Ooh boy, Space Wolf Nick.
Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I'm so happy to be here.
Thanks for coming. We're going to be talking about the event that I ran. These guys got to play in last weekend. And all your regular stuff. Also, this is episode 23, because we have to say that for some reason. Check out this musical break.
So this beer here is...
We're back.
Hey.
Hey.
Figured that was an assumption of me talking. So this beer here is from Ottawa. I asked Marco from the warpainter.com his suggestions, because he's local to Ottawa, for craft breweries up there. And he gave me the names of 3 places. This one was Dominion City Brewing Company. And their slogan is "Makers of very good beer."
Okay.
Just put it right out there, right?
Yeah.
Just be honest.
Yeah.
This is an Earl Grey Marmalade Saison.
Someone's obsessed with England.
They wanted to reimagine some blah blah agrarians blah blah. I don't know. You can read it.
Oh, that's nice. I really like the teal that's on that can. Actually, is that a teal?
Color. I'd say
I would
so.
call it, yeah, like a baby teal.
Baby
Yeah.
teal. Yeah, it's nice.
Cool. So we're going to be talking about the event that we did last week. But first, Adam's going to take things away from me before I play with them and make noise. Let's talk about hobby progress. I'll make it easy. I did nothing because I was planning a kick-ass event for you guys, which I guess really counts.
That's progress. That's progress. Yeah.
And it heavily motivated a lot of hobby progress by me. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So week of was just confirming with everybody, making sure we had all the pieces in place, getting a whole bunch of terrain organized at Phil's, renting a U-Haul, making sure the grilled cheese was coming, and finishing off all the mission packs. Paul, Mike, and I spent last Tuesday night, watching John Wick and stuffing mission packs.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
Yeah. Top Gun wasn't on Netflix.
Has Paul watched that yet?
No. We wanted to watch it, but it wasn't on Netflix.
You guys haven't watched Top Gun?
No!
No, yeah. He said this on the last podcast.
Adam doesn't listen to the podcast.
Adam!
I'm on the podcast.
You're missing so many good things.
So what did you have to get done for the event? Or just, I guess.
Yeah, so no, I've only been focused on that stuff. So I think last time I was on, which was a couple episodes ago, I was talking about the 2 things I was kind of working on. The Contemptor with the Axe and Shield. So basically I did an Axe and Shield dread that was based on a Contemptor chassis. I did the Iron Circle kind of like shield, kind of being held in front with a Contemptor arm. And then the kind of Venerable Dread Space Wolf Blizzard Axe, I believe it's called. Maybe just a Blizzard Shield. Great Finnarsian Axe, I think it's called.
Sure.
And then extended the hilt.
I'm surprised they didn't stick ice or wolf in that.
Yeah, well, you can't use it everywhere. They will. Yeah. So just finished that up, which was, I was pretty happy with that. I love big flat surfaces for weathering. Real nice to just put an oil wash on there. And I've started playing with oil paints specifically putting a glob on and then just using a bit of thinner or mineral spirits, I guess, to pull it down and do some streaking. Super easy and just a lot of fun.
The chain that you wrapped around the haft, I gotta say, was just a great touch.
Yeah, so when I built it originally, it looked too skinny. It didn't have enough kind of weight or depth to it. So I was just thinking about what I could do with that, and I have some little chain lying around, and I found that pretty useful for a lot of different parts of my army. I'd highly recommend it as an addition for anybody who wants extra bits or whatever.
It's kind of like a necklace chain
sort of thing? So. I think I got it from Green Stuff World.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Nice.
And then also finished my Wolf Lord Engir Krakendoom.
That guy was so cool.
Yeah, so he's basically a Wolf Lord in Gravis armor, but he's riding a Thunderwolf just to make him look a little bit beefier and big, as a Wolf Lord or a Captain should, I think. Magnetized arms, back, and the base is actually magnetized on that Thunderwolf base, so I can pop him off and use him as a jump pack dude or change up his arms. I put a lot of time and effort into him. I think he's my kind of current pinnacle with where I'm painting. So I've just been pushing hard on him.
Nice.
It's so cool. I love both those new models.
Yeah.
And I didn't
Thanks, man.
I didn't even get a chance to go over and see your army. I guess like we didn't play a game against each other.
No.
You were never playing. Oh, you were playing a game close to me, but I guess I don't know. When I was wandering around, I guess your army was never just like
It
on
always
display
kinda-
right by me, right?
No, I kind of hid in the corners.
Yeah.
I put it in both corners both times, but
So I saw them in the pictures, and I would just like was freaking out. I was like, "Oh my god, these are amazing!"
thanks,
yeah,
man.
So,
Yeah, I think it's so amazing looking back because like when I really started painting a lot more last year, right? I didn't do any of this stuff, and I spent a lot of time with Adam last year learning like how to airbrush, how to like get some shade down. And now I just feel like I'm pushing it even harder. I'm trying to get more contrast in my minis. I'm just trying to like advance each time I do a mini. It's fun. It's great.
yeah,
Awesome.
and it's paying off.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah. What do you got going on, Adam?
Oh man. So I only had to paint 2 models to be ready for the Hogtowner, which is nice. It was actually kind of my intention was to just take some models that I had laying around and paint them up. So the Repulsor has been a goal like for a while because I bought it off of Nick Wilkins, and it's just been sitting there for a few months. So like, okay, I just need an excuse. Let's make the event an excuse to paint them up. And I guess people thought it might be a cheesy list, but it wasn't overpowering.
The
Like, I don't really want-
repulsors are not very good.
No, exactly, right?
Yeah, I
So
don't see that too cheesy.
yeah, exactly. So 2 Repulsors and Gilliman, it's a lot of shots, and he makes them infinitely more effective with rerolling everything. I mean, he just does that with everybody. But it's certainly not an optimized Gilliman list. But at first glance, people are like, that's so stupid. Anyways, it's just a good excuse to get another Repulsor done. I have this inkling that slowly, Games Workshop's going to fade out the old Space Marines and everything's going to be Primaris. So I was just like, I'm just going to be ready for it.
What did you put in those repulsors?
Like
when you're
inside?
Yeah.
So one was a unit of aggressors with the librarian, just so
Yeah.
he couldn't get alpha strike them in any way. And then the other was 5 intercessors and 5 hellblasters.
Oh yeah.
And the aggressors are... I learned this in my practice game, which I'll talk about in a minute, but they're great because when a tank gets blown up and they don't have to move in my own turn or disembark from the vehicle, they haven't moved, so they can fire twice.
As long as you don't roll a 1.
Yeah, and any of them die, but there's always command points and stuff,
There you
right?
go.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, it's kind of neat, and especially because they're such big targets. But anyways, we'll talk about that when it comes to games.
Yeah.
It's just a fun tank to paint up. It's pretty easy. Like it's a big, like you were saying about flat pieces of armor, right?
Yeah.
When you have an airbrush, it's such a joy to just paint a big box. It's I bought it built, and I just had to rip all the pieces off so I could airbrush them all separately. It makes it a lot easier to paint. But yeah, and then I converted up a cool captain with a jetpack that I can use both for 30k and 40k.
I liked him.
Thunderhammer and the Shield Eternal Relic for half damage. I used like a 30k boarding shield and got like the Mark 4 jump pack?
You had the Mark 4. So was it the single or the 2?
It's the double turbine.
Mark
Mark
3.
Mark 3.
3?
Yeah.
Mark 3
Mark
jump
3's.
pack on there.
That's the easy one to find. Trisaurus and 10 Mark 4 jump packs.
Yeah.
Oh.
The single.
I got a guy. Let me know.
Yeah.
I got a guy. Yeah.
I love guys.
Yeah.
So those are my 2 models I had to get ready for my army. But then comes the wave upon wave of terrain that I painted. So I was saying this before the podcast, so my apologies to you two, but this is for you guys, listeners. As of Sunday night, the week before the event, most of my terrain was not painted. It was prepped, but I bought a secondhand set of Wargames Tournaments Industrial Mega Set MDF terrain. I got it secondhand. It wasn't built, but it was like basically fresh out of the box that it came shipped to him in. He just, I guess, never got motivated because it was
There's a lot of stuff in there.
Project, yeah. It's like 18 buildings, like 30 walkways, a bunch of ladders, and then I didn't know I was getting this along with it, but he must have ordered these on top. There's these like special staircases that don't normally come with it that he ordered with it, I guess.
Oh, they looked like they fit into it. I mean, you just painted them. Like
It's designed to add on.
Okay.
but it didn't come like just with that. But when he was advertising it on Facebook or whatever, it was advertised as just the mega set. So it was such a treat to have these staircases as well, because they block a little bit of line of sight, which the regular mega set has no line of sight.
That table was awesome, but it didn't block any line of sight.
The only reason to block line of sight was because it was so dense.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then it also came with 4 like shipping containers that I wasn't expecting either.
Okay.
Were they on that table?
Yes.
Where were they?
In the middle, somewhere higher.
Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't have seen them because there's just so much terrain on there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as of Sunday night, that stuff wasn't painted, and so literally, I just left it in pieces, all prepped, and took it out on these massive boards outside of my apartment, and just took rattle cans and rattle canned it like crazy. And this is a good tip for anybody painting lots of terrain, is to use rattle cans instead of your regular paints, and leave it all in sections that are going to be different colors. It's so much easier and so much cheaper to paint, right? So I took basically a reddish brown and painted everything with it, and then I took the main colors I was going to use for each section and rattle can on top of that, in kind of like a very I don't know, like just not like a full coverage kind of thing. So just leaving some gaps,
some rust areas or darker areas or something.
Exactly, yeah. So the main flooring was all beige, so just kind of took my hand and like rapidly waved it over top of the pieces while I was laying the paint down, and it just left some nice color modulation on all the pieces, which is good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was that. I also painted 2 massive buildings that I built up, kind of like the old Games Workshop Cities of Death terrain, which it's funny to call that old now, but it is, now that the Kill Team box is out.
Oh, it's old.
And Sector Mechanicus has flown by too. Anyway, so the old stuff, made 2 massive line of sight blocking terrain pieces that weren't painted as of 10 p.m. the day before the event started.
You're wild.
They were good. That was a great table. The
Yeah.
art table was really good.
Yeah.
And then the shipping containers, the staircases, also a GW set of shipping containers and the associated boxes. I didn't quite get the barrels done, but you can't win them all.
Paul's going to know you're tapping on the table.
Oh, sorry, Paul. What else? I'm sure there's other things. It's just been such a whirlwind, and there's so much stuff that I can't remember it all. So there you go.
So moving into the General's armchair.
Shall we segue with something special?
Yeah,
absolutely.
How about, who brought this?
I brought this.
Explain this, my good fellow.
All right, so this is Picnic Point Pale Ale from Henderson's. I believe it was brewed in association with the Society of Beer Drinking Ladies, which is a awesome, I think, like beer connoisseur club in Toronto. I assume ladies only, but I don't know. Yeah. So just a nice little Henderson's brew.
Cool.
Yeah.
What type of beer is it?
It's a pale ale.
Oh, pale ale.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's ladies only. It's the only 1-star review for Henderson's Brewery is somebody saying I was denied entry due to my gender and men are oppressed. And I was like,
Take it easy. Take it easy.
You need to calm down, boy.
Take it easy.
Yeah.
General's Armchair, where were we?
So I got 2 games in.
And so we're going to specifically talk about our non-Hogtowner games.
Yes, non-Hogtowner games, because I didn't play. And I want to be included.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Oh, that's really nice. Oh, yeah, we had this at your place.
Yeah.
That's right. After you whooped my ass. We won't talk about that one. We'll talk about my good game first. Played Age of Sigmar. You're going to hear me talking more and more about that. I got to go toe-to-toe with Phil's terrifyingly scary corn list. He's like, all right, you're learning. You beat the tree people.
Okay, so it was the Tree People the first time.
Tree people was the first time, and this is corn, and he just plops down 2 bloodthirsters and the Forge World bloodthirster, which is like a foot tall.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, sure, we can give this a shot. And he was giving me tips. One thing I really like about Age of Sigmar is that there's like so many relics you can choose from based on what realm you're fighting in. So if you're fighting in the realm of death, you can like choose relics to be like, hey, like my guy's not an actual death champion, but he's been fighting through the realm of death, so he picked up this sword.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I picked up this relic from the realm of life because the Beastclaw Raiders fight a lot against Sylvaneth, and I figured I just fought Sylvaneth, so it'd be cool to take a Relic of Life. So it was the opponent is -1 to hit your Warlord, and he gets +1 movement. So first turn, I charged his giant Bloodthirster with my Frostlord and just killed him. And he was like, oh. I was like, yeah, because I moved 13 and then run D6 and then... Sorry, run auto 6 and then reroll charges.
So is first turn charging a thing in Sigmar?
Yeah.
And is that a common
Oh, sorry,
thing?
this was second turn charge.
Okay.
I did go second on this one.
Okay.
But he still was like, forgot that I had the extra inch of movement, right?
Right.
So he was like, if I hadn't have had that extra inch of movement, I probably wouldn't have made that charge.
Was he like pre-measuring it to be like exactly out of? Okay.
Yeah, so he was getting really sneaky. And yeah, just fighting those Bloodthirsters, man, they're absolutely nuts. And they use the old Khorne Demonkin rules, where as you kill things, you get like buffs. So he was able. I think he had like 2 little tiny characters left. They're little dudes with whips, and they whip Bloodthirsters to go faster. And I'm like, how balls to the wall crazy do you have to be to grab a cat of 9 tails and hit a Bloodthirster in the ass with it?
Yeah,
and it goes forward and not back at you.
Yeah.
So we had 2 guys like that left, and he summoned 20 Bloodletters, and I was just like, oh my god! And
That's crazy.
And I was able to get him on the last turn, and
So-
it was a good game.
So you've played 2 games of AOS,
Yep.
and you've won 2 games of AOS. How are you feeling about that?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
He hasn't. I've only played Phil.
Yeah.
And he's still like teaching me some of the rules. He's letting me take things back,
Right.
right? So if I'm like, I didn't realize that like you could do this. He's like, okay, well, if you had known that, you probably wouldn't have made that move. Do you want to take it back? Like even when we started, I went first, and then I moved, and then he was like, you know what? Let's take this back. You should have gone second with your army. If you had known what my army did, you should have gone second.
Right.
So we are taking it back. I am playing with a very big handicap here, which is totally fine. I'm not.
Yeah. Sounds like
okay
a
with
good.
that.
Sounds like a good teacher, though.
Oh, Phil's he's a fantastic teacher.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting. The dynamics are completely different. Yeah. No shooting.
Are you enjoying it more than your current 40k experience?
I think so, and it's just maybe because it's new.
Yeah. Something different.
It's something different, something new, something new to learn, new fluff, new stuff going on. It does feel very much like 40k. I see a lot of where 40k rules came from in Age of Sigmar.
Right.
And I think they're going to keep going from there. And like I'll say it again, the double turn wouldn't work in 40k because shooting would just be too good.
Right.
But boy, does it swing a game, and it makes you think, and you're just on your toes when the first battle round ends, and you're just like, ooh. If I went second and I win this roll off, I can do a devastating counterpunch. And if you're first, you're like, I don't want to overextend myself in case that person goes
Interesting.
double turn. So yeah, it was great.
I'm excited. I have 2 halves, Stormcast halves of Soul Wars.
Let's
Really?
build
and
them.
an original starter box.
Let's learn to play together.
Yeah, man.
And get good at it.
Good.
Get good.
Get good.
I'm not gonna lie. All of this talk about it is like it's making me really want to create an army. I think Raph was trying to sell me at it at the tournament. He's like,
He was trying to sell everyone that Soul Wars
I
box
know,
in the tournament.
he's gonna buy people beers if he bought it.
Wow. And then my second game, Nick G here, just absolutely whooped my orcs, which was highly embarrassing because they do not lose that poorly ever, and it was just bad.
There was some rolling issues, but yeah, that was an amazing game though because we were it was the Big on Bluer Festival, so we were outside of Sword and Board in like their kind of little corralled beer garden, and I remember driving up and you just came up and you're like, by the way, we're playing outside and there's beer. It's like, this is amazing. Yeah, this is exactly how I want to play 40k.
Except for when the map flipped over in the wind.
Yeah, except for that.
we had to go get tape and tape it down.
It was early in the game. We were all fine. Yeah.
And I gave up on making my Storm Boys stand up straight because a gust would come and they'd all fall over. I'm like, whatever. They're there.
We did have some people stopping by to check out our models. I mean, there's tons of people who were super interested in it, which was really cool. Some little like 6-year-old kid picked up my Leviathan Dreadnought, and I was like, "Oh, come on, don't just be careful."
Yeah.
He was fine with it, but
I had the command point dice out, and the guy like came by. I was like, "This is a weird looking dice." I'm like, "I need that
Yeah.
That represents something kind of important to this game. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and put it back down.
Yeah, everyone was super nice and fine. But
What's
was,
a D10? These are some funky-looking dice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was fun though. I mean, I think that was like, how can we do that more often?
I don't know. I keep telling Paul he's got to do it because he's got a rooftop,
right,
with a table on there. It'd be great to do up there.
I bet if you turned that table sideways, you could fit 2 Warhammer tables up there.
You've been up there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
That'd be awesome.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Or if the table's big enough, you could just put 2 Warhammer tables on there.
Yes, that's true. But it'd be it was a lot of fun.
So
yeah.
let me riff off of yours because that's my only other game played that isn't in the tournament. Yeah, it was just your fast orcs and my semi-castle-y space wolves.
Yeah.
With a Land Raider Crusader, which works pretty well against orcs.
Yep.
Yeah, put some Wolfen in there and like call it a day.
Somehow they can take 42 wounds to the face.
If you're rolling high, which I was,
Yeah.
and you weren't, so that kind of works out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was fun, but wasn't your whole goal this year is to beat every army with your orcs?
Play.
I think you should go for beat.
No, let's just play.
I don't know.
All right, we'll play again.
Yeah, let's do it.
For sure. Yeah, so I think that displayed like the biggest weakness of the Orc Codex in that they cannot
Wait,
deal.
the Orc what?
Index. They cannot deal with high toughness vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
High toughness, high save vehicles. They just there's no multi like power claws. That's it.
Yeah.
And power claws are only D3. They're not super good. I think what actually did the most damage to your vehicles was my Psychers.
Yes, your Psychers wiped out my Venerable Dread immediately.
Yeah, they were just like super smite twice and was just like 9 wounds, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was
They killed Bjorn too.
Yeah, new model syndrome though for the Venerable Dread, and then Bjorn will. Yeah, they did really well. That was where most of your damage was coming from.
Yeah,
was just mortal wounds that I couldn't do anything with.
And I could add like another one, and I'm like, I don't want to add another weird boy. That's just like,
Yeah, you got a codex coming out soon. You can shift it up.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, take cannons and mech guns. I'm like, my orcs don't sit still. They just roll up.
Yep.
They're not going to have something that just sits in the back and lob shots at you. That's not very orky.
Yeah.
But it was a good game. Learning experience.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. I was really happy when I tied your Land Raider up, and you're like, I can just pivot and get out. I'm like, no, you cannot.
Yeah, I used that in the tournament, too. I was like, I will learn from this experience, and I will do the exact same thing.
Because I was able to, like, charge boys into the front of the Land Raider, pile in, kind of cover it, and then in the back, I charged a squad of commandos into a character that Nick had back there, and then piled into the Land Raider, so he wasn't able to pivot the Land Raider out, because that Crusader was just doing 36 shots a turn and just wiping boys off the board.
Yeah.
So it was just, like, you thought there was a big enough hole, but because you couldn't maneuver your tank in the right way...
I couldn't pivot through it, and so I was like, okay, well, I can't move. So I used that in the tournament, and there was another thing that I checked afterwards. So when you charge, right, say you declared a charge, right, but the unit that you charge is now wiped out by someone else's attacks prior to that, you can still pile in and consolidate.
Yes.
So that charging unit, even though there is nothing there, can still pile in and consolidate. And I challenged you on it, but you said no. And I looked it up afterwards, and you were right. And I used that as well in the tournament to basically just get extra movement. Like, you can get an extra 6 inches of movement basically by charging something that you know is going to die somewhere else. It's a really good strategy.
There's 2 ways that you can be activated in the fight phase. One is be within an inch of an enemy unit, and 2 is to have charged.
To have charged, yeah. So both of those were learning experiences for me as well that helped me out.
I'm glad my loss made you stronger.
They did. They did.
Is this like Highlander?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, but that's it. That's my only game played too.
Cool. I played a game in practice for the Hogtowner, which was also my league game for the month.
Oh, that was our league game too. That's right.
Yes,
I submitted the score.
So did I.
Good.
So I played against Shane, who takes like a cool Grey Knights Inquisition themed.
I like his army.
A bunch of conversions. Yeah, it's really cool.
His non-heretical Inquisition army.
His not heretical, totally heretical. And he basically his army was, so it's 1750. Obviously, you look like you're prepping it. Oh,
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
cool. Yeah, so pour that. All right, and so 1750. He took 3 twin last cannon Razorbacks because you have to. It's like your only way to get last cannons, I guess.
Did he gate them around the field?
No, he didn't need to gate them around the fields.
I think they were Inquisition Razorbacks, weren't they? Or they're Grey Knight? I don't know his list.
They would have to be Grey Knight because it's basically mono keyword, right?
Nope. Inquisition could be taken in
your
any
keyword.
Yeah. No, Inquisition units could be taken in any Imperium detachment.
Oh, is Inquisition Razorbacks a thing?
I have no idea. Keep telling
When I played him a while ago,
Sorry.
Yeah, he used them as Grey Knight Razorbacks, and he would gate them onto objectives and like basically out of the way of me. And I was like, oh great,
Nice. Yeah, so I basically didn't give him a chance to do that. I just like piled up with my repulsors and took a couple of them out, and they were in perfect position already because I didn't have I only have the 2 big vehicles, right? So he didn't need to move them anywhere, and he needed them to be killing my repulsors because that's like the bulk of my army.
Right.
But he had a really cool twin autocannon dreadnought thing that could like see through walls and deny you
Like
cover.
Astral Sight, or what is it?
Astrolabe.
Astrolabe.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it's really, really awesome. And then he had another dreadnought-ish thing. I couldn't tell because they were conversions, if it was a dreadnought or a dread knight or whatever. That's like a more close combat-oriented one.
Cool.
And then he had Drago, because you need Drago.
Because,
Yeah, because Storm Shields is amazing. Storm Shields are amazing.
Yeah.
And obviously he gets another couple psychic powers, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just a rough go for him. And he takes three assassins.
Yeah.
The Calexis, the Calidus, and the Eversor.
Yeah.
So I basically screened back. Normally I keep my intercessors in the tank for a while and pop them out to grab an objective later.
Right.
But I put them out early on because I knew the assassins were coming on my back end to just keep a bubble for the assassins.
Yeah.
So I push them further away.
But I mean, doesn't the Eversor charge like 3d6 or something?
Yep. Yeah, so he charged the intercessors, which is fine with me because I did. It's 20. That was 5 of them, so it's 10 wounds. So it's still a lot of wounds for him to get through. And I don't know. I think it was just a different style army for him to play against.
Right.
Because there's just like basically 3 units in my army that do anything.
Yeah. Like who in our meta plays Primaris only?
Adam.
Basically me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Louis. The 2 Louis do.
Do they? Oh yeah, he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of Louis has is Ultramarines.
Both Louis.
Do they?
Yeah. Luises. Sorry, Luises.
Yeah.
Luises.
Luis.
Yeah. So you so you won that one?
Yeah, I won it. We played mission 1 for the Hogtowner, so that was the one with the 3 objectives in the middle.
In the center.
How did it score again? I forget.
You hold it at the end of your
opponent's turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was kind of sitting back, hoping to pick off some repulsors, and my repulsors just flew up. And I knew I was only going to get 2 because I didn't have enough units to grab 3, and so I just like owned 2 of them,
right?
And I just outpoints them, and he couldn't kill my repulsors until later, and that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my game.
Awesome.
Nice. So we're drinking a People's Pint Chinook of the North American Pale Ale. This was one of my awesome raffle prizes.
Nice.
The Hogtowner.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no problem. There's I think there's another one in there too. So People's Pint is a sweet brewery in the Junction. Highly recommend whoever is in Toronto to pop by there. A great selection of a bunch of different
they're fantastic.
awesome collection of beers. Yeah.
What do they do? Are they the ones with the rotating tap of like a home brewer?
I think
Yeah,
so.
they allow a local home brewer from the GTA Brews Club to come in, use their system, and put it on tap until they're out. I think it's like 50 liters.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got for them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And from what I understand from the craft brewing community, I kind of learned this when I went to Halifax with my dad. I was talking to one of the smaller ones. Is that there's a lot of support between the breweries, and like that's just a great example of guys doing that,
Well,
like, and enabling other people to get experience and to like learn. And
they were a brewing collective before they were a brewery. That's why they're called
cool.
People's Pint.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Which is
So-
super cool.
So
They're-
at your behest as well, I've taken some army photos with the People's Pint
Awesome.
here in the middle.
Perfect. Yeah, email those to me. I want to send them over to the guy who arranged for that prize pack.
Yeah.
Surprised you're not wearing the T-shirt.
Yeah. Oh, it's in the wash. It's getting ready. Gonna wear it. The Jose Cuervo. Yeah. Or go say Cuervo.
I'm surprised you just didn't put it on immediately after
I should have.
day 2 of sweatiness.
Oh my god.
Which brings us to our main topic. Oh, do we usually take a break?
We take a break.
We take a break.
Here's a break.
Battle Brothers Studios is a commission painting studio in Toronto, Canada. We want you to walk into the battlefield looking your best. So, if you're having trouble getting all your minis painted, or are in a big rush to get some stuff done for that next event, then let us know. Facebook.com/Battle Brothers Studios for a free quote, and inquire also about our 2018 deals. This year, running a 10% discount on any new release item from any miniature company. That's pretty cool, so send us a message. Hello everybody, this is Adam,
And I'm Jay,
and we are Encounter Wargaming.
and we wanted to celebrate hitting our 1,500 subscribers and give back to all of you who helped us get here.
Super exciting. So we call this the 2,500 subscriber Forgebane giveaway.
That's right, because we're giving away a Forgebane box.
Woohoo!
But in order to give it away, we have to hit our 2,500 subscriber goal.
Makes sense. All right, so first things first, share this.
Share the podcast with your friends.
Share our videos.
Yeah.
Share anything you want. So there you go. Multiple ways to enter.
Right.
Number 1.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Woohoo! That'll get you 1 entry. Number 2, follow on Twitch for 1 more entry.
Also, you can support us on our Patreon campaign, and that'll get you 5 entries.
Wow. All right. And hey,
Crazy.
guess what? If you subscribe on Twitch, you get 5 more entries.
Damn. And lastly, for all of you who are listening to the podcast right now, go on and leave us a review, and we'll get you 1 more entry.
Bonus. Guys, this is a big thank you for all the support that you have given us over the last couple years.
Absolutely. Thanks to everyone out there for making this a wild ride for us. Hopefully we can give one of these boxes to one of you lucky people.
Sweet. Hey, remember to share, and we will see you at our next encounter.
You know, when I'm not cracking cold ones, I'm popping paint pots and putting brushstrokes on miniature figurines. And you know darn right that I'm getting my supplies from thewarpainter.com, a hobby store in the Great White North. Thewarpainter.com is Canada's greatest hobby store for all things hard to find. Scale 75, Broken Toad, The Army Painter, and Valet Ho. All supporters of Encounter Wargaming get 10% off their first order with the code EWG10. They got you covered.
So we're back to talk about the first Hogtowner. Cole's Notes, 38 people. Great venue at the Polish Veterans Hall.
Tons of Polish beer.
Tons of Polish beer.
Awesome grilled cheese.
Gourmet grilled cheese sandwiches.
Great tables.
Amazing tables. That's one thing that everyone commented on was how great the tables were.
I don't want to talk about not the Warhammer parts, but awesome coffee and baked goods in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Which was super key on Sunday
That
morning.
banana bread?
Yeah.
Yeah, like put it in my mouth.
Was that
Yeah.
James's partner that did that?
Yeah, so James's partner Angie, she is a pastry chef at the Casa Loma restaurant.
I could tell.
And that's the
Good
type of restaurant where people regularly spend $100,000 for a meal. 10,000, not 100. I lied. I mean, for us, like, is that really like that much of a difference? Like,
No, it's the same. It's the
it's
same.
the
It's
same.
crazy.
For all intents and purposes, it's the same. It could be $4 million. It's still not something we could afford.
Ever. Yeah.
Still amazing.
So
That was-
she does really good work. The scones are fantastic. And from an organizer's perspective, I just wanted you guys to come in and you just had to worry about playing.
I think we did.
That's, yeah.
I feel like that was the bottom line. Is we felt really everything else was very much catered to us.
Yeah.
We didn't have to think about anything besides getting there, having a good time, and then making sure we could go and have a couple beers afterwards.
I was in my mind. I was fully immersed in what I had to do to keep going and
Yeah.
play in my games. Like,
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember I've been to some 2-day events before. Nothing huge, not like LVO or some of the bigger ones in the States. Astronomicon's been my only experience, and they put on a fantastic thing. But again, it's like, you have to leave the venue to go find food, and you're not.
When it's out by the airport, you're like, where do I even go?
It's not even by the airport; it's by the prison in Milton.
Oh, geez, really?
Nice, nice.
That's fun.
But,
anyways.
No. So that was the main thought, was to just give you guys 6 games of Warhammer, everything's taken care of, and it to be a good experience. So I'm interested. Let's walk through your guys' experience at the Hogtowners. You're both your first time at a 2-day organized play event. I mean, you guys won first and second, respectively, Nick and Adam. So you must have been doing something right. How did you prep for this? What was your expectation going in?
Yeah.
And before we start, let's open a beer.
Yeah, definitely. That is a really tough question. Where do we even start with that?
Yeah. So, from my perspective, okay, I'll answer your question first. Let's have a conversation, Nick.
Let's have a conversation.
I'm also Nick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nick G, Space Wolf Nick.
Thank you.
The beard.
Thank you.
The more epic than Paul Beard.
Oh, yeah. Hey, there you
Hope
go.
you're listening, bud.
Hey, we all got some beards here. This is nice, too.
I counted there were only 8 people there this weekend who didn't have beards.
I love that you counted that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
I was bored. I was sitting at the table being like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does a goatee count? No.
Oh, awesome. So, what was your question now?
Just I don't even know where to start with that. When I was
Right.
thinking about when I prep, right? I mean, this is, for me personally, I haven't been in your club super long, right? It's been about a year since I joined you guys and started playing at a separate level than with my buddies back home. I'd say it's been an awesome year. Everything that I've learned has come from, well, a lot has come from them, but mostly it's come from you guys, right? So this is the culmination, in my mind, in my personal experience, this is the culmination of this part of my army. This is the first chapter of my 40k career, kind of closed out on a sweet high note, which is super awesome.
So we're never going to see the Space Wolves again.
I'm just throwing them out.
They're going in sealed bell jars, and they're being put on your mantle.
Hey, I like those bells.
I love those bell jars. That's what I'm saying.
So, I don't know. I feel personally for me, this was a culmination. This was something I was building up to. I've always wanted to add a couple more units. I never want to go to a tournament where I don't add something. I feel like that's something that's super important to me, is that I don't want to get stale with my hobby or stale with my, my work. And so that was always a consideration. So if we talk about prep, my first prep was always making sure that I had something new, a unit that I wanted to play that was different, that was unique, that I wanted to bring to this.
Mm-hmm.
That was my Wolf Lord, who is the culmination of my army, and then the Action Children.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I definitely think you accomplished that. And so, I mean, yeah, you have to start somewhere with, what's the army I'm going to bring, right? And so for me, I knew the Sisters wasn't it, because I wanted to bring a beautiful army, and the Sisters are beautiful, but they're 10 years ago.
You wanted to bring an army that had stratagems, don't lie.
Exactly. Yeah, more than 2. And even at Space Marines at that, it's really not many that are actually effective.
Yeah.
I actually did pull out a couple that I don't normally use.
What did you use?
The vehicles ignoring wounds on a 5-up.
Really?
Yeah,
No,
I
that's a good
totally
one,
used
yeah.
that.
Interesting.
I used it in the game against Thousand Sons.
Well,
right?
Magnus, yeah.
Yeah, so my
Totally.
Repulsor's sitting there with only a couple wounds left, and he's pulling off these smites, and I'm like, I need a way to save these, and I have no way to save them because I can't deny. I can only deny one thing, or I'm saving my deny for something else that I know I need to deny, like Magnus's 3-up invulnerable.
We'll talk about things.
But anyway, so you're
What
right.
about stratagems?
So how did I prep? So I was like, yeah, so what do I want to bring? I know I want to keep this Primaris thing going. I like the way my Lunals were painted. I like the kind of story that's in my head, and I finally got my act together and wrote it down and made a cool
You
story
did have
presentation.
An awesome
Yeah.
story presentation.
I love that the use of the 7th edition psychic cards.
Yeah, so I had this. You know what's funny? The story behind that is I saw a guy selling the Galactic Empires or whatever the 40k version of Mighty Empires was.
Planetary
The
Empires.
Planetary
Yeah.
Empires. So I bought a set of those off some guy, and then he just started giving me stuff
Nice.
because he was like, my wife needs me to get rid of things. Here you go. He's like, do you want 7th edition cards? And at first I was kind of like, not really. And I was like, why not? I'm sure I can come up with something.
I got more.
And see, there you go.
You want some Deathwatch data cards from 7th edition?
I don't know, maybe if I do a Deathwatch army. But the art on it was so cool. I just got thinking about it. Like, even if I just made like a plank of wood that was nicely stained and just like took the artwork and like put 3 cards on a plank of wood, someone could hang them on a wall or something, you know? So then I translated that right into my story presentation, and it worked out perfectly.
That was awesome.
So.
Both you and Jesse, who ended up getting best painted, you guys both had amazing story presentation for your armies, like stuff I've never seen before, and is completely inspiring me to do something like that next time.
Yeah,
that was awesome. It was so cool to see that. Just like
thanks. Yeah, and it easily came together at midnight the night before.
Awesome.
So what army did I want to bring? And for me, it was same philosophy as you. I just want to get something painted because I always want to be pushing myself to do more. And so I had this Repulsor lying around, and I knew I wanted to compete, so I was going to take Gilliman. And what's Gilliman good with? A bunch of guns.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. So there's a Repulsor.
It's also really good by himself.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's plenty of armies that aren't Ultramarine armies where he just runs around and does a beat stick. Yeah. So so that's the prep. Like, what's the army going to be?
Yeah.
I didn't have to think too much about that because I knew just the way we score and the way the culture of our club. Like, I didn't have to be crazy top of the meta competitive, right?
So yeah, your army composition was just kind of like what were you thinking when you composed 2 Repulsors and your Thunderhammer jump pack captain? Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I'd kind of heard of these beatstick captains, and I know I've had problems in the past where I overcommitted with Gilliman because I needed him to go out and beat something up, and I was like, this is a good alternative to having to overexpose my Gilliman. Sometimes is just having another character that can run out there and just like bop something on the face, and so the captain with the Shield Eternal was a great option, just game wise for that. And especially because I don't have a lot of anti-tank stuff.
Right.
I rely on the Strength 5 that rerolls wounds to really deal with high toughness.
Right. And
I only have 4 last cannon shots, and 2 of them are mildly mid range. So he was a good. It just was a good fit.
Right.
As a reactive kind of castle.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. What would you say your army is? Like, for example, my army was a lot of dreads, right? I had 4 dreads. I had Bjorn, the Axe and Shield, Venerable. I had Leviathan, Daredeo, because I love dreads, and Space Wolves love dreads. I had a couple, Wolfen and Thunderwolves, and then I had some like screening stuff in the back and a Wolf Priest. So what I would consider my army is high toughness and storm shields. So it's either like toughness 7 or toughness 8 plus 3-up saves or lots of saves throughout. That's kind of how I saw my thing. What was your thing for your army?
Gilliman with 2 shoulder pads called Repulsors.
Got it.
Okay. Yep. Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's the toughness 8. Not a lot of people have a lot of strength 9 or 10 shots, and so the Repulsors are just able to survive for a while. Especially because one of my strategies is to pop my librarian outside, give him Might of Heroes, so now I'm toughness 9.
Yeah.
It's Gilliman with 2 shoulder pads.
Cool.
That have guns.
I dig it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Did you play any games in prep? Like, how many games did you play with your list? How long have you been tuning this list for?
Yeah, so this is... I wouldn't say this is the tuning of a list. This was, let's try something fun and different that probably people have never seen before. Which I think we can safely say there's basically no lists out there that are 2 Repulsors.
It's a good point. Yeah.
So, that was the idea.
What about at the 750 or 1750 point level? Like, were you crafting lists at that level before?
No.
Yeah.
I think just to go off that point, and from an organizer's perspective, I think we hit the sweet spot.
I like
in terms of points. One thing I will note, we can talk about this a little bit more at the end, but I didn't hear a single complaint about people not having enough time to play out their games. Like, as the clock was counting down in the last 15 minutes, out of 18, 19 games, maybe 3 or 4 were still going.
I finished all my games
So
to its
did I.
natural conclusion.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's so good to hear, because that's one of the main things that I know is a huge thing in the community right now, and it's great to hear that. I think it was probably the missions But,
yeah. I mean, a little bit of that. The missions were good. The mentality was good. Everybody who was there, like, generally, no one at all would ever slow play, right? Like, that's not even a thing that we think about.
No. You couldn't slow play,
no.
right? Because if you slow play, then you weren't able to score points at the end.
Yeah.
So you needed to play the game out to its conclusion. So let's go into missions. So I'll run out the mission, and you guys tell me what.
Just
who you
round
played?
by round?
Yeah, let's just go
Yeah,
quick. Let's go quick because we're not going to be here for 2 hours.
I'll give you a real detailed recap.
Please, I will cut you off. So the first mission, we wanted to really make people put their balls to the wall, and you had to put your nuts on the chopping block.
Yeah, there's a lot
To
of
score points.
A lot of balls references
Yeah.
in this.
Well, balls to the wall.
Balls to the wall.
Is a fighter plane throttle, not testicles, Nick. So calm down.
Sorry, I thought it was balls.
Yeah, ball because they're balls. In the,
Okay,
doesn't
all
matter.
right.
So there's 3 objective markers across the middle of the table. It was hammer and anvil, so there was not a lot of room to maneuver. And we did something different where you score points controlling the objective at the end of your players at the end of your opponent's turn.
Which is great.
What'd you guys think of that first mission?
Yeah, go ahead.
I struggled with the hammer and anvil, which is a good thing because you want people to be on their toes. I definitely struggled with the hammer and anvil as a small army, and an army with a lot of mid-range shooting, because I had a long way to go to get to people who wanted to sit in the back and shoot. So for me, there was a secondary that was.
Yeah, so let me go into that for a second. So basically, what we did was instead of scoring points for every objective you secured, you're still scoring points, but it doesn't matter if you scored 100 or 5. If you scored more than your opponent, you got the primary objective, which netted you 10 points for that game. Then there were 5 secondary objectives that you added to that first value. So a total value of 15 points per game. And the secondary objectives were just things that you might do in the midst of the game, but you might also have to actually think about them. And the secondary objectives, that's what won people the event. Was focusing on those secondaries.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was really nicely balanced. I don't know. The secondaries were a lot of fun. I thought it was a really interesting way to play. I was considering them in some of the games, like that first game where there was the 3 in the center. Did we talk about the twist yet for that?
No.
Yeah, so the twist for that one was the +2 to everything's, or no, infantry and dreads and cavalry and monsters.
Yeah.
Because Gilliman's a monster is important for me.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah,
he is a monster. 2 to their movement range, and then +1 to their charge range. So basically, things are moving across the board fast, right? But all of the objectives are in the center, so you're just moving into the center of the board really fast. That was interesting for my first game. I played against Orcs. I played against Jim, who was from Detroit, which was awesome to have some some nice distance people coming into this event. That was awesome. We had a really fun game, but it was just like Orcs charging in, and I was able to wipe out a flank and take one side. I think that the secondaries weren't really a consideration in that game for me. I wasn't actively thinking about them, mainly because I was learning how to play this in the first game, right? I was kind of understanding. I'm like, okay, I see how this is going. I see that what these secondaries are, and I'll slowly kind of work through them.
So for me, the touching people at the backfield was the issue, and I played against a Necron player who had 18 Wraiths and 3 Doomsday Arcs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it.
So getting to the 3 Doomsday Arcs was impossible, right? They just sat at the back and blasted me with black holes. Thankfully, I survived turn 1 because I didn't get first turn with one repulsor that it only had 1 wound left, but he just kept focusing on it, and so that was just a big. It was fortunate for me that it stayed alive because it protected some infantry, but then also he had all these wraiths sitting on each of the 3 objectives, and he was thinking it was ITC because he's a competitive player and obviously didn't read the mission pack, just assumed it was more ITC. And so he had his guys on all 3 objectives, and I just walked up and annihilated 2 units of wraiths, which was great. It felt real good, not gonna lie. And but the problem for me in my style of army was touching those Doomsday-arcs in the back. And so it ended up, I lost this game by 1 point.
Oh,
Yeah.
1 point.
1 point, which was rough.
On the primary?
On the primary, yeah. Because they don't add together for your victory,
No,
right?
no,
It's
no.
only
Yeah.
based on the primary.
Yeah.
And I lost it by 1 point because then later, when I annihilated his whole army and it was just the 3 Doomsday Arcs left, he kept them on the second level so Gilliman couldn't touch them, right?
Yeah.
And so basically it was Gilliman sitting on one objective and 2 Doomsday Arcs on the other, and he's sitting there with his wrist cannon that does 2 damage, like trying to do something, but
Yeah.
he just couldn't, right? So he outpointed me in the last turn because he had 2 and I only had 1, and there's nothing I could do to kill them.
Yeah, I'm surprised. That's one thing I guess your army lacks is any form of like outflanking or deep striking ability.
Definitely.
To get in behind there.
Yeah, I gotta
Yeah.
go for it. And the transports help get
Yeah.
some of those primary infantry there, but
You want to bring those Inceptors in?
I mean, I could. There's not a lot of room at 1750.
Yeah.
At a full 2000, I could put 2 or 3 units of Inceptors if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with another 18 heavy bolter shots per unit, right?
Yep.
For 100 and something points.
Yep.
Yeah, so mission 2 was Burn and Pillage. It was a fun little mission that we came up. I was really inspired by the burn the objectives.
Yeah.
That is in the open war deck.
Yeah.
So basically, there were 3 objectives in each deployment zone,
And the chapter approved mission, right?
and the chapter
Yeah,
approved
What is it,
mission.
Scorched Earth?
Yeah.
Yep. Scorched Earth.
And you score 3 points if you hold an objective marker at the end of the game, and if at any point during the game you hold one of the points in your deployment zone, in your enemy's deployment zone, you can burn it and gain 3 victory points. I can't talk. All right.
Okay, guys, so I warned these guys about this beer
It's blood
just
red.
before the podcast. And so
Hey, you have blood on you.
all I will say is this is a stout.
Oh, that is blood.
Oh, wow.
That is okay.
What? It's almost like grape juice.
Smells like tea.
It's so dark and red or purple, crimson.
So it's a small can. I'll top you up if.
Where's this from?
So this is Dominion City as well. This was what Marco said was one of his favorite breweries out in Ottawa. And I got this immediately because I saw that it said ice cream stout. And I told you guys I missed the first half of the name of this beer, right?
So you
Which
got
says-
stout. You got stout.
So I got ice cream stout, and I immediately bought 6. And then I went home and I tried one for the first time, and then looked at the can again because I was like, "What is this?" Try it. The first 2 words are what the thing is in addition to stout that's put in there. Let's see if you can guess.
Blackberries,
Close, yeah.
mulberries.
My grandmother had a mulberry tree in her backyard. I have fond memories of mulberries.
I don't know what that is. That's really interesting.
Mm.
It's sour for a stout.
Oh, is it a currant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's red or black?
It's a black currant ice cream stout.
Okay,
I like that.
I dig it.
I like that. I like stouts that have a little bit of that sour puckery taste.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
nice.
it's pretty good.
It was. I told these guys, like, my brain did not know how to process this beer at
No,
first.
this is weird.
I
Yeah.
like it though.
It's sweet, but also sour and dark and like that coffee kind of like stout richness to it. Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Julie just texted me. We should save her some because it sounds really good.
We can probably do that. I think-
Come on out and have a sip. Let us know what you think. Come over here.
I think we can probably do that. So this mission, this was awesome. This was second round, so I played Brian Miller, who I played at the Hogtowner, or sorry, not the Hogtowner,
The Knuckler?
the Knuckler, back in May, right? And so that was the first time I got to play him. He played his Steel Legion. He had a bunch of like Lehman Russ's tank commanders. I was able to beat him just through.
Did you win your first game
What
in the
in the Hogtowner?
Hogtowner?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, against
okay.
Orcs.
So Brian also must have won his first game then.
I'm not too sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyways, keep going.
So Brian obviously learned a lot from my first game against him because he deployed. He had his Steel Legion again, but he had a couple Basilisks this time. He didn't bring his tank commander. He had a couple outflanking, or not outflanking, but like he did a really great pincer move with his chimeras with a bunch of like guardsmen in it near the end. He basically didn't leave me, so I usually outflank my Wolfen if I need to attack something in the backfield, right? He didn't leave me any room to do that. It was super smart of him. But I was able to bring him over way in on the side and just kind of like eventually pile them in. But he did this great pincer move at the end where I had to basically turn my remaining dreads around to attack both of his chimeras and all of his guardsmen, who were going to burn all of my things in the backfield before I could go and burn his. It was a really fun game. Yeah, he definitely learned a lot from like the first game that I played him, but I was able to pull out a win just because I could eliminate his stuff quickly enough. And it basically comes down to me like using my melee, using my charge and pile-in distances to gain ground and to tie up his shooting guard. Right, that's what it came down to.
So the twist in this mission was any model that is charged or performed a charge gains +1 attack. And we didn't
super helpful
for you.
Super helpful.
And we didn't explain how the twists work, so I'll give a brief run through of how they work. So basically, you do all the normal deployment. You know, you figure out your deployment zones, you figure out where the objectives are, and you roll off, figure out who's going to deploy the first unit on the board. Right before the first unit on the board is deployed, you open up the twist envelope. So nobody knew what it was.
Which was always such an awesome moment.
Yeah, and we talked about this. We were like, should each player get a twist envelope? And Paul was like, no, they should open it together.
Yep.
And so, like, you'd see people at the beginning of the games, like, snuggling up to each other and opening up the envelope and being like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It was really good to see.
Yeah. And you did have a little bit of fluff before the rule, but I'm not going to lie, I didn't read the fluff once.
It's fair.
You're trying to save time, right?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but
Yeah.
you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And I must say, this is something that I especially appreciate about the culture of our club, and just like something that we value, and something that that ITC maybe necessarily doesn't have, is keeping generals on their toes.
Yeah.
Because you show up to an ITC event and you just know you have to kill a unit and hold an objective.
Always the same.
And the bonus probably doesn't even matter, right? And you need to kill more and you need to hold more. And so you design an army that's good at killing things, right? Whereas this opens things up.
This obviously, I mean, we can talk about this later, but this obviously takes way more effort from the organizer's perspective.
Definitely.
Not really. We had a couple of beers and wrote out a bunch of twists.
Well, yeah, I mean, it can be fun effort, right? That's the thing.
Fair
It takes
enough.
more
Yeah,
effort, but it can be fun effort if
Yes.
you have the right culture in your group of friends.
Very
right?
true.
Who
Who's your game two against?
Yeah, so I was going to say, it's just like, we need to appreciate the shifting tides of battle. Like, war is like crazy, and you don't know what's going to happen, and this represents that.
Yep.
So my game was against Sean O'Neill. He's AdMac. This is my stream wife on Twitch when we did the podcast in the past. So Sean, thank you for being an amazing opponent. But we dead tied, like straight down the middle. We tied on primary, we tied on secondary. It was just a dead tie.
Did you burn each other's objectives?
Eventually I burned his, but he started off burning mine.
So all the objectives were burned.
No, we didn't burn. No, we didn't.
I was
get all
hoping
of them.
somebody
Yeah.
would burn every objective on the table and be like, "Oh crap!"
I was close to getting all of his. This is how. So a lot of games with Primaris and Gilliman go like this, where basically I end up with no army left, and then Gilliman like sprints across the table and takes care of the rest of the enemy's army. And
I hate that guy.
So he actually had a really cool trick, and I reacted to it wrong because of some more immediate threats that were right up in my face. But he
was playing Mechanicus, right?
he was playing Mechanicus, and he had 4 robots. He was playing, what is it, Styges? So he basically used the Strike from the Shadows Raven Guard stratagem.
With robots?
With robots. So he put a unit of 4 robots like right in my back line.
Oh god.
And I was like, what do I do? Because I also had to face up against 2 Knight Armigers that move really fast. And what I should have done was just taken a back pedal, dealt with the robots, and give myself a turn before the Armigers hit combat.
Yeah.
But I also knew I needed to get across the table to burn his objectives. So I really struggled with this, and I realized right away that I made the wrong choice in kind of half moving forward. I didn't fully commit forward, but I moved forward a little bit, and just enough to like keep the Armigers at bay, but I just made the wrong choice, and I should have just dealt with the robots because it took me way too long to deal with them, and I ended up staying in my deployment zone too long because of it.
Right, yeah,
and so I couldn't, like, if I would have just taken care of the robots, then taken care of the armigers over 2 turns, as opposed to, like, maybe trying to half do both in 1 turn, it ended up taking me 3 or 4 turns to deal with both.
Yeah.
Right? And then I had to make the long haul, and I didn't have enough turns to get all of his objectives later.
Yeah.
But if it would have just gone robots, armigers, army, I would have had 4 turns left to get across and burn his objectives. Mm-hmm. So he ended up getting one of mine really early, and then another one of mine, like, I don't know, turn 3 or 4, which I could take care of the things that were getting mine fast enough. But then I didn't have enough time to get all his. So it was a really interesting game, and I had a lot of fun.
Cool. So, super important question. How many beers did you had by the time you started your 3rd game?
Oh, man. There was it Graham, Marco's guy who was there with Marco? He basically came up in the middle of the 2nd game once the bar was open. Like, I think the bar opened at 11. So
She's like, you want to open at 10:30? I'm like, I don't think that's legal. She's like, you're right, 11.
So you know what? It was the first game, and he walked up to our table and he says, "Hey, I'll go buy you a beer while you play for an extra $1." And I'm like, sold. So I basically had beers delivered to me at the table while I was finishing my game. It was amazing. I mean,
I didn't get that offer. I heard he was doing it, but I didn't get the offer.
I think he had just too much demand.
Yeah, probably.
So this venue, for all intents and purposes, was a Legion. So they had $6 5 or 600 milliliter bottles.
I think the Juviettes are 600 mils. Yeah.
I was drinking a lot of Tiskies. I like Tiski.
Yeah, and then
I like-
Lomja.
So
Lomja was
Lomja, yeah.
oh, so many of those.
what's the gal's name again?
Beta.
So this is how Beta described Juviettes. She's like, "Oh, it's good, but it's spicy."
So we had this old Polish woman manning the bar, and she was just... I was like, are you going to be okay by yourself? She's like, yes, that will be fine.
She was amazing.
Yeah, she was great.
Amazing.
She kept all of us. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I probably only had 1 and maybe just started my 2nd by game 3. To answer your question.
Nick?
I can't remember.
That's fair.
It was like there was a...
It was that many, eh?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was like it was probably 4 or 5. I mean, like, it was a very good day.
Yeah. There's a great picture of Matt Schnarr talking to Jesse and Mike Chapman.
Yeah.
And Matt has his arms behind his back, and he's leaned forward and with this intense look. And you could just hear him being like, what? And Jesse's like, yeah, I remember that moment. I was explaining to him how when he killed my squad of 30 cultists, they came in from his board edge and grabbed the objective and won me the game.
And I believe his response was, yeah, I was probably a couple beers deep at that point.
So Mission 3 was something I stole from Age of Sigmar.
Really?
Which I thought was really cool. So I figured Mission 3, end of the first day, people are drinking, people want to like hang out and have fun. We had the venue till 8 o'clock. So let's do a sudden death mission.
That was cool.
So if you hold... So both players place an objective in their own deployment zones, and if you hold both objectives at the end of your turn, after the start of turn 3, so, you know, end of player 1, turn 3, end of player 2, turn 3, mission's just over and you win. And I was just like, yeah, cool. Let's try something different. And it really messed with people.
How many people do you think games stopped early because of that?
Not that many.
Mine did.
Did it?
Yeah.
There was maybe like 6 out of all the games, and people were okay. They were like, it was a great different way to play a mission.
Mm-hmm. So this is actually an open war card as well.
Yes. Oh, it is. That's right. Yeah.
And so I had played this before in a fun game against Mike Fume, who was also at the event. But I played this, maybe 6 months ago. And so I was a little bit more prepared to handle it, because the first time I played it, I was not expecting how ridiculous this could be.
Yeah.
Not that it's ridiculous in a bad way, but you definitely have to be prepared.
It's a completely different sort of mission.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right? There's no waiting. It's like you have to be hyper aggressive and get in there.
Well,
and the twist was that at the start of your turn, you nominate a unit and they get D3 wounds back.
Which is great for me. With having just like 3 tanky powerhouse units, it definitely helped me.
Yeah, I love the restoratives one. Watching like a demon prince like just keep fighting turn after turn. Like, should be dead. He's not.
He's not. He restores all those.
Yep. So who'd you play in round 3?
So first off, let me tell you about this lovely People's Pint Time Lord IPA. So I actually had this. I went to the People's Pint before I got all these lovely prizes. It was a good impetus to actually raffle on them. This is a really nice IPA that they do.
He chose that especially for us because I told him that we were nerds.
You might have a beard hair in there. I don't think it's mine. I think it's yours, but you definitely got one.
Yeah, totally. And it's right on top.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, it looks about the length of one of mine.
There you go.
Actually, no. How long is my beard right now? Yeah, it could be.
Mine are a little bit more scraggly, but nonetheless. So my game, I played against Jared from, I think he's from the London area. He brought a knight list, a pure knight list, and I haven't played against the pure knight list since the Codex came out. So it was Helverins, he had a Gallant, and he had, I think it was the Castellan, which is the one big one with the volcano cannon, and he had, I can't remember what his other knight was, but...
Gallant. With 2 close
No,
combat
he had a
guys.
Gallant, but he had I can't remember what the third knight was.
Was it 2 guns?
It was 2 guns.
Crusader.
It might have been the Crusader. Yeah, I think you're right. Anyways, so I hadn't played against this. We played on a table. It was Phil's kind of brown with the green foliage. The really green
the jungle
foliage.
table.
The jungle table. Which I like. I love that table from an aesthetic point of view. I think it's beautiful. I think it's awesome. It has no line of sight blocking terrain whatsoever
Against knights, because every other person who played on that table was like, I love this table because it's got lots of line of sight blocking terrain.
No, it has it had two kind of, I don't know, I'd say 8-inch by 2-inch like stone pieces at either corner where we both put our objectives behind it, right? That we could hide behind, and that was it. So what I did was I realized pretty early on, I was like, okay, maybe I can do this, but I realized very early on that I was basically playing for a draw, which I ended up getting, but loss on the secondaries. But I put my Wolf Lord and Bjorn, my Whirlwind, and my Fenrisian Wolves all hidden behind little line of sights, plus the characters can just stand out the openings of the characters.
Yeah.
All along the back, because I'm like, I can't let your outflanking Gallant come in and take this, because you'll literally win the game immediately. So I basically tried to like zone out where he could come in from. And then I sent my Wolfen, my Thunderwolf Cavalry, everything else like up the board. I think I outflanked the Wolfen, but my whole thing was like, I'm going to try to keep you back over there, and I'm just going to try to like keep your Gallant out, right?
Yeah.
By the time he brought his Gallant in turn 3, like the latest he could have, it was far enough out that he couldn't charge into anything except for the Fenrisian Wolf, and Bjorn countercharged him and one-shot him, which is what Bjorn should do.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But by that point, like that was again, like he literally wiped out the rest of my army on the other side, and I think at the end I just had my Wolf Lord hiding behind that one line of sight blocking terrain. It was an uphill battle the whole way. The draw was the best I could hope for.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Sometimes you got to fight to a tie.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a victory.
Yeah, and it was for me. It was for me. I realized that the way that I built my Dreadnought list, it can't deal with knights unless there's a lot of ways for it to get there. Right.
I after this event and before this event, like knights were brand new, and there's been a lot of thing about them. I think it's just like people were like, "Oh, you're not doing anything to curb knights," and it's like they're part of the game now.
Yep.
Like I think it's a meta thing. People have to adapt their lists, right? Like, used to be horde armies that people had problems with, and then people started taking tons of assault cannon razorbacks and stuff like that. And I think it's just, you're going to have to build your list with knights in mind.
One might say that the slow but consistent Codex release is GW training you on how to make a take-all-comers army.
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
Right? Like, you are slowly tuning your army to be able to adapt to all threats. You can't always adapt to them, but you're doing the best you can as these codices come out. And
Mm-hmm. How was your game 3?
Yeah, I played against Dark Eldar, and so Dave.
Dave, nice.
Dave is a fantastic opponent. He's just a fantastic human being. Really appreciate this guy, and great painter considering this is his first army, which is awesome. And so So it's great to face up against a beautiful army. I went back to the first table that I'd played on, but this time I got to play the other way. So instead of hammer and anvil, I got to play. It wasn't quite Dawn of War, but it's basically Dawn of War except a slight triangle. And it's kind of the traditional way that my Primaris Guilliman army plays out, where there's kind of this battle early on. Everything dies on both sides, and then Guilliman runs across the table and takes care of the rest. And
I see a theme.
Yeah.
yeah. So he did. Basically, the second the 2 repulsors died, Guilliman went for the objective, which was pretty easy for the 2 repulsors to die against Dark Eldar because there's just so many shots, so many blasters, so many things that can just easily take out these tanks. But it's the rest of my army, like my aggressors and intercessors, which normally aren't worth much in some of the games that I had, were totally capable of taking out toughness 6 like skimmers and toughness 3 infantry, right? So he had 3 raiders, 2 ravagers, and then what are the little fire
Venoms.
Venoms. Yeah, so he had 3 Venoms full of witches and a witch character. And he deep struck his... That's probably not how you say that properly. It doesn't matter. He deep struck 3 raiders. He deep
Screaming jets.
Yeah.
Screaming jets. Uh-oh.
Yeah. He dropped in through his raiders. And so his ravagers were on the board the whole time, which actually were... Because I don't have the long range, I kind of just let them be. Waited for the raiders to drop and then dealt with that kind of infantry. But he left his 3, what are they called? The close combat dudes,
oh,
the Talos.
Yeah.
He left his 3 Talos to defend his back objective, which I thought was kind of interesting. I maybe wouldn't have done it that way. It's like a good beefy tough unit to like sit there and survive. But I didn't have long range shooting that was a threat to them.
Mm-hmm. They're also so good. They do like 3 flat damage. They have haywire weapons. They're tough. They regain wounds. They have like a 5 up feel no pain, 5 up invulnerable. Oh.
So like he needed those to come in and fight my like castle-y, tanky army, right? But he kind of let them go back, and like I was slowly whittling them away with my shooting. And so I managed to kill 1, but then when Guilliman did a sprint across the table, he could easily handle 2 of them.
Yeah.
Right? And so then he capped the second one, which instantly ended the game. Right? And he had infantry coming around because his raiders dropped in, and I easily took care of them because they're such low toughness. But then his infantry were certainly swarming around my objective. But he didn't have enough time.
Right.
He just didn't have enough time. So.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I thought that was a fun game. It was a good way to end the day.
So how long did that game go for you?
We were still done because I had my buddy Andrew and my partner Kira both came, and we had 50 minutes to drink beer and walk around after my 6th turn with knights. Like, I'm an elite army, but we still finished that game with 50 minutes left.
Yeah,
I don't remember how
long. I heard one. It wasn't even a complaint. Like, one guy came up to me and he's like, "It was a fun mission, but I feel like I didn't get to play a full game."
Did he lose by the auto win? Like
he lost the auto win like start of turn 3, and I don't think he read it. He was like, "Wait, I don't get a chance to push him off the objective. He gets it in his turn." I was like, "No."
Maybe you just got to make it more clear, right? Maybe it's just got to be a slightly more clear. Like, read this. You will auto lose if. Yeah.
But like you said, like the point behind this from an organizer's perspective was, it's the end of day 1.
Yeah.
Here's your chance to go check out the vendors, hang out with people, check out all the other armies, and then play like kind of a quicker game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah.
It was perfect. Yeah.
I thought it was perfect too.
So mission 4,
which also I must say. Which we haven't said yet, there was a half an hour break between each game, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
There was just so much time. Sometimes the tournaments I really feel rushed, and there was so much time, there was so much room to breathe, and it was like it was just really nice.
You could also go decompress not around the tables. There was the bar area, there was the vendor area, there was like seating area, you could go outside. It felt like you didn't need to be around the same place that you're playing all the time. You could spread out, and it was just. I think that's a really important thing.
Well, that's best
to consider.
Best Coast Pairings is just absolutely fantastic for that sort of thing, because as the organizer, I was able to literally walk around and be like, okay, this person hasn't got their score in yet. Hey, what's your score? Okay, cool. Any issues? Yeah, I've got some problems. Okay, tell me your score. I'll put it in. And then just be like, start round from my phone.
Yeah.
And I just made it so easy. The only thing that Best Coast Pairings wasn't doing, which I swear I heard somewhere that they figured this out, was making sure no one played on the same table twice.
Yeah, I played on the same table twice, I think.
Yeah, I got two times I got paired up on the same table.
I played
Which with 18, 19 tables shouldn't have happened.
I played on Matt Hurd's Mars table, which I'm not disappointed about. I think it's a beautiful table, but
that's one of the tables I played on twice too.
Yeah,
weird.
Maybe it was just
there's
everybody
like a
wanted to
magnet.
play on.
Yeah. So the only other option from BCP is doing ranked tables, and nobody wants ranked tables.
No.
Yeah, that's just bad.
No, yeah, because then you get one guy playing on the same table 6 rounds in a row.
Exactly. So it's not great. So the mission 4. So in the interim, I kept saying I'm tired, and I'm not going to go out, and I'm going to go home, and I'm going to get a good night's sleep.
But you didn't.
And I'm going to have a shower.
But you didn't.
And then Nick G kept pestering me, and then we went to the Red Room, and we drank about a dozen pitchers, and I had
There was more than a dozen.
and I had a vegetable stir fry, and
That was the best.
it was great.
It was the best.
And then took an Uber home.
Yeah, I got home about 1.
Yeah, me too.
It's pretty
It
good.
was great. Woke up, my alarm went off the next morning at 7 o'clock, and I'm like, why is my alarm going off at 7 o'clock on a Sunday? I have nothing to do.
It was a little bit different than the like eager Christmas morning wake up that I had on Saturday morning. I'm like, oh man, I'm excited. That morning I was like, I'm excited, but I'm also hungover.
Yeah. And James picked me up because we went to go pick up coffee and go pick up Mike. And he was just talking the entire time. And I was just like, with my sunglasses on in the passenger seat, like, he's like, are you asleep? I'm like, no. James was so eager. We were there at 7:45, and I was like, James, why are we here at 7:45?
He was just having so much fun.
The round doesn't start for an hour and 45 minutes.
Ew. Wow, you guys showed up really early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were there before Beta opened the doors, and she friggin' lives there.
I wouldn't be surprised if she actually does live.
No, she does. There's apartments above it.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah. So this one was the supply drop mission, mission 4.
Yeah. This one was great.
So anyone who doesn't know supply drop mission, there's 6 objectives, and you randomly select which 2 remain on the board and are worth points, which was kind of cool.
I love supply drop, and it was Vanguard Strike, which is, I mean, people don't like setting it up, but I like Vanguard Strike.
You know what's great?
Yeah.
Is when people, namely, your friendly neighborhood TO.
You did a great job of putting the distances on the map.
Yeah.
It's a great job. It made it so much easier.
You sound so sarcastic.
No, I'm not. I'm actually, it was super helpful, but I know that you're just like gloating
Yeah.
about it.
Because normally you have to like convince your opponent that you have the measurements right when you're trying to tell them like, hey, it's 21.5 and 14.5, and they're like, what are you talking about? Are you sure? I don't.
Yeah.
It is one of those things. It's like, how well do you know Warhammer? Well, like, what are the measurements for Vanguard Strike?
Yeah, it's a very like niche thing. Yeah.
So the twist for this one was you can use the Warlord's leadership as your own for the entire game. But if your Warlord dies, you suffer a -1 penalty. This was huge for some armies.
It was, I played against the Guard Army, and it was good for him.
Oh, yeah.
The dying never happened for either of us, but how did your game go?
So I played against a Magnus Thousand Suns army,
Corey's?
which I was a little bit worried about it. Yeah, so this is Corey. Just because of the amount of mortal wounds that could potentially come out, and when I only have basically 3 models in my army,
So
that rely on the high toughness,
Right.
mortal wounds are the end of me, right?
So
And
he had Magnus,
Mhm.
and he had a Leviathan with 2 like storm
Butcher
cannon
cannon
arrays.
arrays. Yeah.
So how did that go?
So thankfully, we played on this really cool. This is one of Jim's tables, a Necron table, and so it was massive pyramid, not quite in the middle, but just off center. And we both used it to hide behind. I got to drop the last objective and pick my deployment zone.
Yeah.
Which meant I started off with an advantage on the objectives and knew that I know how supply drop works because I've played it a bunch and I really like that mission, and I knew I could kind of game like how the ones that I pick, and hopefully leave him with few options to choose from when it randomly determines which one the beta objective is.
So we talked about this while we were getting a lovely grilled cheese from Gangsta Grilled Cheese.
Yes.
But what was your strategy when you chose the objectives that you wanted to be removed? Like, or the alpha ones or the beta ones,
Yeah.
right?
So I had a unit of scouts on the far end of the table, and I certainly wanted to have that one be one of the ones that he had to choose from.
Right.
So because I had a little bit of an advantage with the objectives, there were like basically 4 that I could easily take, and 2 that were kind of in his deployment zone. One of those 2 was still in the area that had a heavy concentration of fighting going on, and so it wouldn't be hard for me to get that one. There was only one that was really hard for me to get to, and so I let that be one of his that would be the beta, and then I let the one that was semi-hard for me, it was his deployment zone-ish, but I could definitely get to it if I wanted to, and then the one that was in my corner with the unit of scouts with none of his units around, I let those be the beta. And so it's like, these 3 are in my deployment zone, I'll just choose these because of how it was set up. Right. If I didn't have such an advantage in the objectives, I may have chosen a different way, but
Right.
Yeah, because you have some interesting thoughts around this.
Yeah, so I played against Alex Albuquerque's like guard list. It was hands down my most fun game because we played on your Zone Mortalis table, which had tons of line of sight blocking terrain. It was literally only line of sight blocking terrain.
But I think it was line of sight blocking terrain because you guys chose to play infinite height.
No, we didn't choose to play Infinite.
Okay.
We actually didn't. I said that it was only equivalent for me, but I'm like, if you see my dreads above, you can shoot them.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter
Fair
because it was actually still better for me because he had to like funnel his tanks down. He doesn't want to move his tanks, whereas I want to move my dreads. Like I'm okay with shooting and moving. That was like he's an awesome opponent. He has a beautiful army. It was probably my most fun game because of the like strategy around like corridors and choke points and just like slicing the pie. How do you want to actually show your models as you're turning around a corner? He's got his tank like right down this alleyway. Well, I'm going to stop here even though my movement go more because I don't want to like get my Thunderwolf cavalry blasted away, right? So it was just awesome.
That's why I love Zone Mortalis, baby.
Yeah,
it's
really,
like the best way to play 30K.
Really
far.
cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. So we had a really fun game. What I did when I chose the objectives is I was going first too, but I chose the objectives that mainly he was on 2 of them, and he had one that was he also put down, but it was a little bit farther away. I could have easily got that one too, and it ended up being the I think one of them. But by choosing the ones that he was on, I knew where I had to focus my units because I had that turn. I'm like, okay, I'm literally going to turn all of my units around and go after this, right? He has a bunch, like, I know I'm not going to table him. He has a bunch of, tanks and guardsmen, and he has some mortars left, and he has, so I'm not going to be able to kill everything. I just need to know where I need to focus my attention and get that objective. So I'm like, listen, tell me right now so that I can use my turn 3 movement and my turn 3 charge to get at that.
Yeah, which is really smart.
Yeah.
I've totally never thought about supply drop in that way. That's just like a great way to react to supply drop.
Yeah. But both of the objectives ended up being really close. They were both beside each other. I was able to bring Bjorn around. The Leviathan basically stood. He put the one objective that when he placed, that was the alpha, in this little like alcove. That was like I could place the Leviathan in front of it and nothing could get in there. So I was like, all right, well this sounds good. I'm just gonna like put the Leviathan there until Bjorn can get there and like sit on it. He played a couple like pretty good last turn, like getting my Fenrisian wolves all killed, my little objective grabbers. It was fun. That was easily my most fun game, just strategy wise, and like obviously great opponent. Yeah.
I was really worried about this Mortal Wound thing, and so for me, I had some people telling me like take out Magnus early. Take out Magnus as soon as you can before he powers up. And I was like, what does that even mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, he has a psychic power that gives him a 3-up invuln save. And so I got turn 1, and so I was really stoked. I was like, oh, I can do the thing that I was told to do. And I made Magnus take 12 4-up invuln saves before he charged it to a 3-up, and he passed 11 of them. And I was like, oh no, I'm so screwed, right? Like, I'm so screwed. And then he decided to pull this crazy maneuver where he put Magnus he charged Magnus on his turn 1 into one of my repulsors.
Okay.
And then I just turned my whole army at him and just blasted him off the table. It didn't matter that he managed to get his 3-up invuln save off. Like, it just took care of him, and then Magnus was gone for the rest of the game. And I was happy he did that, and kind of wondering why. But I guess he was thinking I can take out one of his big shot outputs and hopefully survive with my 3-up invuln.
Well, it means Magnus. You can shoot him anyways, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But maybe if he was further back, I would have thought the Leviathan was a bigger threat.
Sure.
I don't know. So
how did the Leviathan do?
So this is open that, and then I'll tell one of my most favorite moments of the whole tournament.
So this is a blonde milk stout. It's a Tom Green. It's a summer stout, which I'm super excited for. Oh, okay.
What?
That's
a
blonde.
stout?
That's blonde.
Okay. All right. This does not look like a stout.
It does look like Tom Green, and I do like that Tom Green has some kind of Bose connection, right? Because he did Tom Green's milk stout. Otherwise, he always just does stouts.
And Bose is a great brewery.
Bose is a great brewery.
I've only ever had one of their beers, the Lugtread Ale, and it's fantastic.
You should have their Nordic Kissemeyer Pale Ale. It is really good.
It's so good. And they're a great example of employee ownership being a success.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, and also cheers to the Hogtowner.
Yeah.
The organizing committee did a great job. You guys put together a great event.
Oh my god, that tastes like a stout.
No,
it does. It's got a stout tang to it.
Can I say the last one as well, and this one? They're both very sweet.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, in a nice way.
Yep.
Okay, so my movie scene moment. So Corey has one model left, and it's a Leviathan with double butcher cannon array, and that was really awkward. Just a door opened, and there was no person opening it.
Ghosts.
And I don't have many models left, but the game is definitely in my favor. And I have Gilliman with 1 wound left. Okay, so he's the double,
first life or second life?
It's the second life.
Okay.
And so he's got 1 wound left, and I'm like, well, do I take one of my other units, which I only had like a unit of 2 intercessors and a librarian, and then maybe one of my repulsors with like 3 wounds left. And I was like, how do I make it so that Gilliman can get in there to finish this Leviathan off? And we'll just end the game in a tabling, right? And I'm like, you know what? I think Gilliman just has the best chance. And so I declare the charge with Gilliman. And he does his auto-hitting heavy flamers, and he does his butcher cannon.
Hell flamers, sure.
2
damage,
hell flamers. Right. 2 damage, you chaos.
He had 1 wound left, so it didn't matter, there were 2 damage. And he survives all the Overwatch. He gets his sword in with 2 hands, and he just slices the thing in half. It explodes, and Gilliman dies in the explosion.
It's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so thankfully I had a couple models left to obviously mean he was tabled and I was just barely not. So that's how that game ended.
It's awesome.
It's great.
Yep. Yeah. That's hilarious. I love it. I know Corey's a great player. He was having a rough day. He's not that's a new army for him.
Yeah, he said it was like his 4th game or 5th game with I don't know.
Yeah, and that was the 4th game of the event.
Right. Yeah.
So I felt kind of bad because he went to use a stratagem he thought the Leviathan could fire twice, and I was like, no, sorry, man.
Oh,
I wish the Leviathan could fire twice.
It can't. It can't.
Well, certainly a Space Marine one can't because they don't have any cool stratagems.
Yeah. But there's something called Fire Frenzy that lets a Hellbrute fire twice, and everyone was like, oh, the Leviathan has a Hellbrute keyword, and it's like, yeah, it was FAQ to say specifically a Hellbrute.
Leviathan has a Hellbrute keyword?
Right, because it gets Legion benefits.
Right. So it's not the Dreadnought, but it's the Hellbrute. Yeah, okay, got it. Interesting.
So Mission 5 was me being diabolical.
Yeah, this was crazy.
I hope you guys enjoyed this. So Mission 5, and I wanted to give a little bit of narrative thing, but this was supposed to be trench warfare. So there was just like 6 objectives. All of the objective markers were outside of your deployment zone, so you had to go get them. And the twist for this one was the person deploying first deploys their entire army, and the person going second deploys their entire army, and the person going who deployed first rolls a d6 on a 2+. They go first. On a 1, they go second. You can both seize as normal. And I saw some awesome stuff happen with this twist. I saw one person roll the 1, which means that they didn't get to go first. And their opponent was like, yes! And then they went to roll to seize, and they rolled a 6, and they stole back first turn.
They stole it back.
That's awesome.
So good. Like the emotions that shift in such a short time.
The high and low?
Yeah.
So my opponent deployed first, and he's like, this is crazy. Shit. And then he rolled a 1. And I was like, all right, let's do this. Like, I played Tau for the first time.
Yeah.
And I haven't played Tau, and I was like, I kind of asked him, like, okay, can you just give me a primer on how, shield drones work? How do your marker lights work? Like, this is a bad time to be learning this, but please explain this stuff to me. And he was really...
Who was it? Was it Lorand or
it was Adam.
Oh, okay.
Adam, yeah, who lives in Toronto, but works a ton. And I tried to get him to, like, come join the club. Maybe he will. But yeah, he had a fun Tau list with a bunch of commanders, some ghost keels. He had the Sky Rays, I think they are, with the six like secret missiles on top. And he had a whole bunch of Kroot, and I was like, okay. I'm like, what are your Kroot? And he's like, oh, basically like guardsmen but worse. And I was like, great, okay.
Guardsmen but worse.
They're way better.
They're way better.
No, they have 6-up saves. They're toughness 3.
But they infiltrate.
Yeah, they can advance forward.
And they're strength 4.
Yeah.
And they have 2 attacks.
Yeah, but I don't know.
They have guns with knives on them.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. All he did with
and their guns are strength 4.
All he did with them,
he totally lied to you.
And they benefit from marker lights.
He didn't use them. He used them in a very smart way where he brought them and basically created a fence around my dreads, so I had to charge them if I didn't kill them, like, to go through them, right? So I'm like, I'm shooting other things. He's just enough survive that he can put basically a fence around, so my dreads aren't moving up the field quick enough. It was really smart. But I learned shoot the shield drones, get rid of the marker lights. Yep. That's about it. That's what I learned.
Yeah, that's exactly what you have to do.
So we played a great game. I learned the terribleness of Tau Overwatch. Tried to do my best.
He was playing Tau Sept too, wasn't he?
No, he was playing Sepsia, or what's the one with the reroll 1s per wound. Sasia.
Sassy.
Or ones per unit. Yeah.
So sassy.
Yeah, it was sassy.
So a cool element in this mission as well was to score objectives. You could score at the end of your turn and score a point, or say, I'm going to hold the line on this objective.
I pretty much always held.
Yeah, and you get 2 if you hold at the end of your opponent's phase.
I got it most of the time, and at the end, it came down to us being like 12 and 12. I had Bjorn and the Daradea with like a couple wounds left, and he had 2 commanders and like 1 Pathfinder dude, and basically he had the advantage to get a couple more points. And yeah, he just played it out in the proper order, and yeah,
nice.
Like it was awesome. It was a great game. Learned a lot about Tau.
Mm-hmm. They're scary.
Yeah,
they're really scary.
Yeah.
I have not played them yet in 8th edition.
That was the thing that I mentioned to him, is that we don't have a lot in our meta.
No, we don't.
Right, and that's something that I would encourage other people to come in and join us. Is to, like, I want to broaden my horizons. I want to see these other armies that I don't get to play against that often, especially good players. Like, he played really well. I think he actually came second in battle points overall.
Yeah, Mike actually reminded me that I've played him before.
Really?
Like 4 years ago at one of Dueling Grounds tournaments.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. He says that he doesn't come out to this stuff often. He just plays with his brother, and I was like, dude, you're a good player for just playing with your
brother. So everyone's looking at me, so I guess I better talk about my game. I got to play against the best painted army, Jesse McGivney.
Yeah,
it was fabulous. So this was really tough for me. The second I saw a chaos army with lots of units, occultists, and then I mean, he had 2 Defilers, a Contemptor Dreadnought, a Knight, a Demon Prince,
Knight with
a
2 battle
Sorcerer.
cannons too.
Oh my gosh, that is...
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. There's a lot of strength 8 shots, and I have 2 toughness 8 vehicles.
Yeah.
And like he had the one Dreadnought with like a 4 damage, 4 shot Butcher Cannon thingy, which wasn't quite the same as
not the Decimator. Was it Decimator?
Yeah, it might have been a Decimator. I don't know. His stuff's all converted, so again, it's one of those armies we don't really know what things are.
You're just like, tell me what this is. Okay.
Yeah.
But at least
one of the things that can hurt me.
To the point, for as someone who also converts a lot, it looks like he's, for the most part, it looks like
it looks way more like what it is.
Yes, it looks like what it is.
Yeah. Than other people who convert things.
Yeah.
Or proxy.
Correct.
So yeah, he does a great job on this front. So once he told me what it was, I could remember easily, right? Which is what you want if you're making an army like that. Anyways, so because I had such a small army, I knew this was not an objective game for me. I know I was going to lose the objectives every time, and I'm actually Nick's in the bathroom right now. I'm interested as to what his answer is to this question because it's not written in the mission. Is to, if I table him, do I still win? Or is it...
I think you play
purely,
it out. No, I think, well...
Is it purely objectives, or can I still win on a tabling?
I mean...
Because this is what our game came down to. I had to kill 1 model to win the game, if I could win on tabling. Because he had, like, 27 or 30 objective points, and I had 4.
Right.
Right, because I just knew I couldn't do it. He's got all these units of cultists,
right,
and I can't stand up against that.
Yeah,
and I just had to kill 1 more model to table him.
And
if I would have had 1 more turn, I could have easily.
Did you go to turn 6?
We did. We went to the full turn 6.
So you just needed that little extra.
Totally, and there might have been some strategic things I could have done early on that would have given me a better chance at that.
Which model was left though?
It was a Dreadnought. But I had a Repulsor coming straight for him. I was about 24 inches away, which is optimal range for me.
Yeah.
And I had to make a choice, because he had 2 units left at the end of turn 6, a unit of Cultists and a Dreadnought. And I decided to shoot his Cultists, which were still on the objective, and the Dreadnought wasn't. So that I could get some secondary points. Right? So I needed do you have more? And then is your Warlord on the objective? And so I decided for the 1 more point that it was worth it for me to kill the unit of Cultists instead. But the Repulsor that I had out could have easily taken care of a Dreadnought with Gilliman hanging around.
Right.
So it was tight. It was tight.
Yeah. That was a really fun one. I like the idea of being able to control and like basically sit on an objective and say, "Come at me. I'm going to take 2 points from this."
Yeah.
That was the only way that I could basically get a couple more points up is by taking less objectives, but saying you're not going to move me off of these. That was the only way that I could match the number of points and the objectives that he was getting.
So did you end up winning that or not?
No, I ended up losing that.
You lost that.
Yeah, I lost that one. Yeah.
So Nick, I have a very important question for you.
I was here the whole time.
Because this is a question that somebody else had, and they were asking me about it.
Sure.
Because of a different rounds game, but it certainly came up in mine. If you tabled someone, is that still an automatic win? No. Okay.
No,
so I would have lost that game.
Should have made that more clear.
Yeah.
But no. Usually that's in the missions, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's written into the mission.
Yeah. But we wanted to make it so you couldn't just rely on that.
Yeah.
As a game winning strategy, because
you
don't want someone to come with an army that's and a mindset that's just designed to wipe your opponent off the table.
Yeah. Which that wasn't the design of my army, but that's what I needed to win that 5th round.
Yeah,
because like I said, you missed it, but there was 1 model left on the table, and so I was like, I need to. That's how our game ended on turn 6.
Oh,
was like he had like 27 points because his army just like cultists. Space Marines have no equivalent to cultists, right?
No,
there's no way to get a whole bunch of units around the battlefield.
No.
And so I knew I wasn't going to win the game based on the objectives. So in my head, I was like, I just need a table in.
Yeah.
And it came down to 1 model left, and I just couldn't do it.
What model was it?
It was a Dreadnought, but I had a Repulsor close enough to deal with it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I just needed the extra turn. That's all. Yeah. So anyways, that's round 5, eh?
Round 5, people are getting tired.
But it was a great mission, great game.
I love that twist.
Yeah.
It was so simple, and so like it threw so many people off.
Yeah.
I slept through most of round 5.
Good.
Yeah, I just was like I
Well
fell
done.
asleep in the chair. It was awesome. Woke up a couple times to being shot in the chest with a
Couple
friggin'
Nerf
guns. Because James is a madman who brought Nerf guns for all the TOs to play with,
Awesome.
which was tons of fun.
So at the end of round 5, I mean, we're sitting here with first overall and second overall. So I'm sitting here with 2 wins, 1 tie, and 2 losses at this point.
You were?
Yep.
Yeah, I was 3 wins, 1 tie, like a technical tie. Like I tied against the Knights on the primary, but lost on the secondary.
Okay.
So I had a loss, but I had a lot of points for a loss.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I had the loss against the Tau.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
3-1-1 or 3-2 technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going into round 6, this was the Hogtown special.
This was the best. You were alluding to this the whole time.
I was so excited for this. This was again a couple beers in. Let's design a mission that is unlike anything anyone's ever played before. So you have to know the mission before you can actually know the twist on this one. So the mission is that the only objective is at the center of the board. If your warlord is within 3 inches of the objective, they control it regardless of any other models or any abilities that they may possess. So,
And you get 2 points, right?
and you get 2 points if your warlord controls it. So this is the idea. Is like,
Any other units can get 1 point.
Yeah.
any other units can get 1 point. Objective secure doesn't mean anything if your warlords are there. And we did a weird deployment
The weirdest.
where you had 2 corners and your opponent had 2 corners, and you had to equally divide your forces between those corners.
And they were the opposite corners.
And they were the opposite corners,
Yeah.
diagonally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you guys? Oh wait, twist. That's important. So the twist was the battlefield slowly shrinks, and at the end of each battle round, everything within 6, then 12, then 18, then 24, except for a 6-inch radius bubble in the middle, takes D3 moral wounds.
Right.
What do you guys think of this mission?
I thought it was great. I mean, I actually, because of the amount of things that I had as high wounds, I didn't move them that fast. I moved my fast units into the center, basically tried to like push everything into one flank of his, and I played Jesse. Jesse's beautiful chaos.
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so Jesse and I played in, I think it was the Knuckler last, and he beat me. It was a really, really good game, and he beat me on it. So I was like, okay, this is like some redemption. I ended up beating him in this. It was a bit because of his rolls, like that battle cannon that he's got on that knight.
46 strength 8 shots.
Yeah. Except most of them
terrible.
were ones that he rolled.
Oh,
and I was
man.
like,
Oh.
you know, and you never blame rolls. It's not about rolls, but
It's about rolls.
it's the luck shifts. The luck shifts.
It definitely does.
But it was just basically like I tried to flank one side, and he couldn't pull his stuff in. But that was fun. I left my big toughness wounds though. Like I left my Leviathan, Daradeo, my Whirlwind. Everything took at least 2 rounds of those mortal wounds, because I'm like, what am I going to take 2 mortal wounds and try to like go into combat range where I'm not going to be able to do anything, or am I just going to still shoot and just be like, okay, give me a couple mortal wounds? Like I don't care. But yeah, it was that was fun. I mean, that was a great game. I played again on Matt Hurd's Mars table, so we were kind of funneling towards the center. There was some really good line of sight blocking in certain parts. It's just a fun end. Yeah.
Awesome.
I had a crazy game. So it was 2 elite armies against each other. So I was playing against Custodes.
I'm gonna crack here for a second.
Oh yeah, let's.
Who's
do that.
Custodes did you play against?
This is Bob. It's one of the folks from Detroit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So first off, like shout out to the guys from Detroit for coming in, because like,
Totally.
this, like I think events like this are best done when they have more people from out of town come in.
Oh, that's so pale.
Agreed.
Yeah, I remember their reaction walking in. I remember first day them coming up to me. There was a group of 3 of them being like, this is amazing. This is not what I expected. We're coming back next year. And I'm like, day one hasn't even started.
Yeah. You don't even know.
Yeah, you haven't met anybody. You haven't even tried the grilled cheese.
But I think that was the biggest part, and like kind of the most exciting part for me was like, we're playing people from out of town, from different metas, like, you know, we're playing some American dudes. It's sweet. Like, yeah, it's awesome. I'm so happy that people came from out of town.
Yeah. My best friend from high school and another really good friend who I literally learned how to play Warhammer with, who I haven't seen in like 3 or 4 years. They both came to play at this event.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were they the Test Eagles?
Yeah.
I didn't understand what that meant until literally like Sunday night.
I know, right? Took me a while too.
Were they? That's the Canadian group.
Yeah,
a couple of them are in BC.
Yeah, 2 of them are from the mountains in BC, and Eric, my buddy, lives in London.
Nice.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Well, cheers to everybody who flew or drove really far.
Yeah.
Oops.
That's why you put a screen protector on your phone.
The tournament.
No screen protector.
Yeah. The tournament's only as good as the people, and we had a lot of really good people. But we'll talk about that after.
So how'd your game with the Custodes go?
Yeah, so it was crazy. So we were both really worried about the storm because my repulsors, they have 16 wounds, but there's only 2 of them, and they attract a lot of attention. So I was like, I cannot afford to take mortal wounds, especially with my, I just have very few models, and so Gilliman, he needs to be able to take a punch, and so if I take mortal wounds early, I'm in big trouble later, especially against Custodes who can give me a big punch back, right? And so I immediately deployed 2 units of scouts on the objective, which scored me 2 early points as he was running up the battlefield trying to get at me. He had 2 armigers as well in his army, which is really interesting, that I managed to take care of really quickly. He ran them straight at my last cannon repulsor, which I had to, because of the amount of units that we had to deploy evenly across the 2 deployment zones, which were in opposite corners. I had to put 1 repulsor with Gilliman and another repulsor with just the regular captain, which really put a wrench in my normal strategy, right? And so I put my DACA one with Gilliman because there's just more shots, so I want to reroll more dice. And I left my last cannon one with the regular captain. And I got to jump out my Hellblasters and take care of the armigers really early, which was nice. But I couldn't quite put enough wounds on his bikes, and so they countercharged and got my Hellblasters early, which sucked. But he has a few assassins in there too. He has 2 Vindicators, which ended up.
Right. Yeah.
I saw that list.
Yeah.
I saw that list.
It was interesting because we played on a great table, which made it a little bit tough for him. We played on Collins' Cities of Death terrain table, which was great because he got them really high up in buildings, but there was also enough line of sight blocking terrain to make him make choices as to who he was shooting. And so one of them had to end up just killing a couple intercessors 2 turns in a row, which, because it was just tough, right?
It's good.
So anyways, back to the main points of the game. Got the scouts, which gave me 2 early points. I managed to run one of the scout units off of the objective and hold his 3 foot slogging units of Custodes back. I would basically put a massive speed bump. I just ran them out, put them at max coherency, and held up 3 units of Custodes for a turn, which was a big for me. If I didn't do that, both my units of scouts would have died the next turn. And so I'm glad I recognized that was worthwhile. And Gilman didn't get in till the end, and maybe it was turn 4 or 5, but he ended up being such a superstar, which obviously he always is. But he came in and he took the charge from 3 units, the unit of bikes and 2 units of 3 Custodes. And the first unit of 3 went, and he was sitting on 1 wound left this whole time. He took the unit of 3 and didn't suffer any wounds, and then he interrupted and managed to kill the bikes and the other unit of 3 Custodes, which I think Gilliman was a little conflicted about that. But he did a good job, and he took care of both and managed to survive, which was a huge victory, because then he ended up... so Bob jumped his shield captain, Praetor guy, on the objective, which got him a quick 2, which brought him pretty close to me. I was only ahead by, I think, 1 at that point, but then Gilliman came in and chopped that shield captain's head off. So it was a big deal that he survived, because I might not have won the game if he didn't. But obviously command points with a 3-up invuln and coming back to life, and yeah.
Awesome.
So it was exciting. Yeah. I don't think Bob felt bad about it, but he had a really tough time with it. I think at the end of the game he was like, Gilliman is stupid. A lot of people say that, because he is, but
he needs to be another 100 points.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like the ramp up of the twists was great. That last culmination was awesome, and just in like the craziness of deployment and the craziness of the twist. It was a good, I remember at the end of my 5th game with Tau, I'm like, oh wow, I'm just so glad this is almost over. I'm tired. And I'm like, oh, I have another game left. 6 games of Warhammer is a lot of games.
It is.
But that last game didn't feel like that. It could have been because I was playing Jesse. It could have been because of the dynamic. But it was just, it still felt fun.
Yeah.
Still felt engaged in it. It was just really good.
So this is another game where I had a very movie scene moment, much like the Leviathan. So the Vindicare loads up, the storm's coming. He's got 1 wound left. He takes a shot at Gilliman, who's standing on the objective, kills him, and then gets eaten by the storm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. So good.
No, that's so cool.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you guys had a good time and
took
took the missions in stride, because one thing we were worried about is that people would not enjoy the wackiness to it.
I think that your point before, where it creates that you have to be reactive to the thing that you are presented with, right? It is not always consistent. It is always dynamic. There's something happening. I think that's so important for a very interesting game, and I think it ends up creating better generals in the sense because you have to learn how to adjust.
Yeah.
I don't think that we are all great generals. I think that we played for a narrative and a fun event, but at the same time, we tried hard. It was tough.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing. Is be reactive. Don't be consistent.
Yeah. Okay. So what did you think of the comp? We did a Hogtown special composition. I know Nick and I have talked about it quite a bit, about his issues with it. But what, overall, you saw it in practice in the armies that you played and what people showed up with. What were your thoughts on it? Was it too restrictive? Did it hit the sweet spot? Was it not restrictive enough?
I think it's great because it prevents me from doing stuff that's super cheesy, like taking a battalion of guard, right? What is it called? The Brave 32 or something.
Yeah.
I forget what it's.
Your battery
right?
of 32.
Yeah, the battery of 32, which I actually don't really need because I don't have any great stratagems. But it would be nice actually to have that cheap objective grabbing, just more units on the battlefield. Anyways, and just focus on something that's okay, I know that we can't power game this as much. And I can just have a little bit of fun and not worry that somebody else is going to power game it either. Which is actually probably more of the issue for me.
Yeah. I would agree.
I made a few comments probably a few weeks ago to you where I was like, you know what, Nick? I think I'm moving towards a more permissive comp system in my mind because I kind of want to see a little more creativity maybe in our group.
Yeah.
Let's get more comfortable being okay with seeing some weird combos, and seeing some of those competitive combos out there, and just having to adapt to it. I still think there's some things that we could change that you've suggested already that would make it better, and more permissive at the same time, which I think is nice. But I really enjoyed it, and I think it's good to force people to have to work within constraints. I think people say this about creativity in general.
You are
Give
more
a sandbox.
creative. You are more creative when there are walls around you.
That's
right?
it.
Yeah.
You have to do more with less.
And one of the biggest things that bugs me about 8th edition is the picking units that match the keywords perfectly, right? Why would you never take anything but Catachan artillery, right? Re-rolling those random shots is fantastic. So you end up with Catachan artillery, Mordian infantry, and I don't know, Imperial Knights. So now you're just taking literally, oh, this unit matches this specific faction keyword, instead of being like, no, like, this is a Steel Legion army. I've got Steel Legion artillery, I've got Steel Legion APCs, and I've got Steel Legion infantry.
I've got no issue from that point as long as they paint it correctly.
Yeah, that is the main issue, though, is people tend not to.
Yeah. I think, I mean, my whole thing, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, is that I agree with you. I think that permissivity allows for creative kind of expansion, right? Like, you get to put some unique combos together. You get to do interesting combinations. What you get on the table is it can be very fluffy.
Yeah.
It can be very cool. It's very, like, diverse. I understand your point completely, where it can also be broken.
Yeah.
And until we find that kind of counter to that broken aspect of it, I don't want people bringing a guard where they're just going to be using their battery for their knights, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. But that being said, you allowed that at this event.
We did. There was a lot of feedback.
And so can you explain what was changed in the proximity of time beforehand, and what was your decision point for that? Why did you choose to do that?
So Knights came out, and previously we hadn't allowed super heavy detachments. So Knights came out, and we said an army that was completely made up of Knights could take a super heavy detachment, and then we had a couple.
Which is
people,
a good choice.
Yeah,
like we had to do that. It allows room for a full codex to be used.
Yeah,
which we want.
Yeah.
But before that, you were allowed to take Knights with any Imperium army.
Yeah,
and we had a bunch of people.
But a single knight.
Yeah, but the Knight Codex also added 2 new units, Armigers and Helverins. We had a bunch of people who wanted to be able to take Armigers and Helverins from a fluffy standpoint, and I think 3 or 4 people ended up doing that, right? Where their list was like 1 Knight and 2 Armigers and 2 separate units making up a super heavy detachment. And just reading forums and going forward, just realized that it didn't make sense to not allow it, considering the culture that we had. Knights kind of act as an auxiliary to Imperial forces. So we decided to allow it, and only one person really significantly changed their list. I was happy with the result.
I don't think it was from what I played, and I only played 6 games.
Yeah.
I wasn't disappointed. Like, I didn't feel like whoever was playing against me was unfair. None of them actually would have been affected by that change that I know of. But it was fine.
Yeah.
Like, it was totally fine. I think this is the whole thing, right? And this is probably what you'll get into later, is that our comp and our prize system and what we reward at the end is still not going to reward you just for winning games.
No, that was the whole point. So it was 50-50. So the way I basically calculated scores was there were 90 possible battle points out of all 6 rounds. That's right? Yes, 90. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. There were 42 possible paint scores. So the final score was a percentage. It was a percentage of the total possible points you could have won at the tournament. And we multiplied the percentage of total possible battle points times 0.5 and the total possible paint score times 5. And it really shifted things. Like, if you play around with that spreadsheet I posted today, like it really shifts it. Like, a couple more like the points obviously don't match up because each paint point is technically worth 2 battle points because of it's 42 versus out of 90. But yeah, I was really happy with the outcome. I found, and we talked about this before the podcast, I found that it's still, you're still rewarding people for showing up and winning, but you're making it very clear that, like, this isn't what you should aspire to. Like, you're getting a good prize. You're getting artisanal handmade sausages made down the street at a butcher shop. It's not a bad prize.
It's a good prize.
I've got a butcher prize in my freezer still. I'm just gonna wait till I fire up that barbecue to cook that butcher prize from the Kill Team event. Yeah. But
surprisingly, I've won a butcher prize before. I had a great time stuffing steaks in my mouth.
The point is to entice people with a carrot rather than a stick, right? And just get that balance. Get the hobby points. and make sure you're going for that. And if not, you know what? Bring an amazing table.
Yeah.
Bring the best painted army.
Yeah.
Bring the best painted model.
There were beautiful tables there. So many people brought awesome tables. I think it was Matt Schnars that won.
Yeah.
It was the Saskatchewan granary with like beautiful green grass, but also from the distant future,
bubbling pools.
Yeah, it was great. But like that's the thing. I 100% agree, and I kind of think that it's the tone that we set as a club that dictates how these events go. Right?
Yeah.
We say that this is how we want to play. This is how we're going to judge these things. I think that's super important to just set and be consistent about. I don't know. We've obviously decided this is the way that we want to play Warhammer. And don't get me wrong, like we still played competitive lists, but nobody spammed anything crazy. Nobody was unfun or unfair during their games.
There wasn't a single thumbs down. There wasn't a single issue. Nobody ever came to me and said, I have a problem with my opponent.
No, and that's the thing. I think that's about us as a group and the people that are joining us being very good sports and taking the game of Warhammer in the same kind of stride.
Yeah.
How do you foster that? How do you keep going forward?
Carrot, man.
But it's just like
that carrot.
Yeah.
We got the money, man. We do well as a club.
Yeah.
And we can support that type of gameplay. We're not having black styrofoam tables.
Yeah.
Which is a huge thing, and I think when people see pictures of this event, they want to show up with an army that meets that standard. You're setting a base standard, and from an organizer perspective, everything went 100% perfectly. There were no issues. We planned for everything. If something happened, this is what's dealt with. We had me, Mike, Connor, Paul, James. We had 5 TOs.
Yeah.
Looking after everything.
So what do you think? What were you worried about beforehand? Like I want to interrogate you a bit.
Sure,
now.
of course.
So what did you worry about before the event started? What were your greatest worries about this event?
So one of my greatest concerns was honestly was having to kick somebody out or enforce our rather strict hobby policy, right? Which was models that aren't painted to a basic standard will be pulled from the table. There were some models at the event that were a very basic standard, but they met that standard, and that we never had to enforce that. With the drama that happened at the ATC, I was worried that there was going to be some issues with lists. No issues with lists. The comp can be complicated, but honestly, most of the lists that I had to go back and forth with the players on had nothing to do with comp. They had to do with new players never playing in an organized play environment, and I was like, hey, you can't take a unit of demons in a Death Guard detachment if you want to keep your Death Guard faction special rules.
Right.
And they're like, oh, this comp's really complicated. I'm like, no. This is a codex rule.
Regular.
This is a regular rule. Like, I'm not making this up. So, and it's a good opportunity to have, to show that type of patience. And I think the tone that we need to set for these sorts of events is to provide an opportunity for people who feel overwhelmed or don't feel they're good enough to participate in other organized play events, and give them an opportunity for them to have an organized play event that is designed for them to have fun in. Because I had one of my friend from high school, he saw the comp and he was immediately like, yes, this is the 40K that I want to play. Like, it's fluffy. I want to come in with a pure Blood Angels army, and I want to play.
Yeah, it's that nice balance between the narrative, the complete, let's get rid of the competitiveness, versus the, super competitive, let's tune our lists so that they're, completely broken.
Yeah.
It's that nice balance. I agree. I think you guys have done a great job. You should be commended for it.
And you can find those opposing extremes. Mm-hmm. You can go to X Planet. You can go to Lords of War. You can go to TGX. Go play ITC.
Yeah.
Go for it. Some of our guys went to go play.
Yeah.
This is just an alternative way to play.
Yep.
And I hope we absolutely encourage it. couple. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I guess that was your worry beforehand, but now looking back and doing your own kind of, and I think you guys as a committee are going to do your own like retrospective and postmortem afterwards. What were the things that you think you could have done better? What were the things you think you did well? Like, I think the general thing was well, but what do you think you did the best? And what were the things you think you could have done better? Or what would you change next time?
What would I change next time? So let's start off with the good things. Organization and logistics were on point. I get made fun of and poked at regularly for demanding Excel spreadsheets be filled out. But they help. Because when something comes down to the wire, I don't have to chase down somebody and be like, where's this information? I know it's there, right? Like, I know that there's that person's email. I can get in contact with them. There's their phone number. These are the tables that we have going on. This is our budget for this item. Let's not go over this. Oh, how much money extra do we have to spend on this event? Well, based on this many people coming and these costs, there it is, right in front of me.
Just some good project management.
Some good project management skills. It really helps. As far as what we could do better, the mission pack needs to be tightened up.
How so?
The wording, basically, when you have a group of 3 people who have a very similar mindset on how they approach this game, and we're all sitting down writing the missions together, we all know the intent of the missions. Mm-hmm. And we really need a proofreader, or I was hoping that we'd get more feedback. We got some feedback on the missions when we released it early, but there was some dicey wording, whereas somebody who was like, had the mission in their head and wrote it down, I'm like, that makes sense. Like, I don't understand the confusion, but a couple missions were like, I don't understand how this works.
Right.
And it's just different ways of interpreting, different ways of reading, comma placement, whatever.
Right.
So definitely more oversight on that. But again, you got 5 people walking around being able to answer questions.
I think that was definitely the fix for that, is that you could always, and you guys were very flexible with it at the end. It's like, hey, I don't understand this. It's like, oh, this is what we meant. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. You learn to appreciate the complexity of what Games Workshop has to deal with when writing codexes and missions and all these things that come out. It's like, let's just have let's have a little bit of grace, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then the other thing that it comes back to your point, one thing that we can do better, and this would just take it above and beyond, is have, and I get this idea from Matt Hurd's table that he came up. I don't know if you saw it, but he had the special rules for
I
his
played
table.
on that table twice, and I voted that table very high.
But did you read the special rules?
Because of the special rules.
Yeah.
That's why I voted that table. Just like how you and Jesse both put your this is my army's fluff with your thing. Matt Hurd went the extra above and beyond. This is my table's fluff. Here are the rules I suggest playing with.
Yes.
And that is like key. It's like, hey, someone has already given me a general idea of what I should be doing here.
Yeah.
I'm going to just follow these rules. I mean, I'm assuming that the person who's played on this a lot knows the general best practices.
Yeah.
I'll follow these.
And I think that doing something like that for every single table would fix a lot of the issues that people... not a lot of people had issues with this, but your issue with line of sight, for example. If you could say that jungle table was, you're like, hey, these forests don't completely represent this. If you have to draw line of sight through any forest item, it's blocked.
Right.
100%. It's not true line of sight.
I would very much appreciate a data sheet.
Yeah, for each table.
For each table.
Or like
that was awesome.
Or like the Zone Mortalis one. The walls are infinite height.
Yep.
Barrage weapons need to fire directly.
Yeah.
How about
would
that?
be crazy.
I actually debated writing one for the Industrial Megaset table. I didn't end up having enough time, and I also didn't know. Part of me doubted, like, okay, is this necessary? Like, do I need to do this? And then seeing people walk through it made me go, okay, I definitely needed this.
Yeah,
as well as seeing Matt's table, which I played on twice, and seeing him do that, I was like, I totally should have done this. Because the problem with the table was it was very dense.
Yes.
Yeah. And there were a lot of things that prevented big models from moving through. So
when I first saw that, I'm like, how are knights going to play on this? They're going to be
Totally
caged in on the one side.
Yeah, and I was like, I have no problem with that.
and my initial reaction was like, knight players can deal with it.
Yeah.
Right?
I was like, hey, if a knight person walks through a catwalk, the catwalk's gone. It's
Totally.
not on the table anymore.
But that's not a rule, right?
But you need, like,
But
if you had a data sheet, you're like, by
It
the
said
way,
that.
the rule says, we suggest you play with the rule that if a knight walks through a catwalk and there's no units on it, catwalk.
We're basically making terrain data sheets like they do in the rulebook.
Yeah,
Totally.
That's
and
all.
it's fun.
And
it's
I
fun.
ended up
It's
walking up to that table and fixing it every game.
I saw that.
Because people just took things off or changed the terrain around.
It wasn't
and
even
I was
nights.
like, why would you even think about adjusting the terrain on a table? Like, I get that it's hard, but like,
Do you want to hear something funny in the opposite vein of that?
yeah.
So you said, why would someone think about adjusting terrain on the table? I went over to a game between Eric Nybert and Dave Skirch, and after game 2, Matt Schnarr had pushed all the Zone Mortalis walls out of the way to put his army on display, and then took his display away, so that when they showed up to play their game,
There's just a big
there was a
blank
big
spot.
open hole, and all of the walls were kind of just piled up willy-nilly, and I'm like, oh, you guys move the terrain to move your guys easier? They're like, no, this is the way the table was set up when we got here. We didn't want to move it. And I was like, oh, frig. No, that's not how it's supposed to be.
Oh man, yeah, that's funny. So what I was thinking of was like exactly what you said. Writing rules, like if you want to walk your knight through these archways that are blocking the way, and they're easily removable, like you just pick it up, pull it off.
Yeah.
Then, like, on a 4+, your knight takes D3 mortal wounds or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And just have something fun like that. Just write a little dash sheet.
It would be super easy to do, and I think it would take it to the absolute next level.
Yeah.
Because, having an interactive battlefield is something that, you can't really take advantage of.
Yeah.
If you're playing on different tables all the time.
Yeah.
And,
It's another element that plays into our point earlier of like, let's keep people on their toes.
Yep.
Let's make
I
people
agree.
better generals.
I agree.
Let's tell a better story.
Yep.
And just have some fun.
we took a lot of cues from Astro, because Astro really set the standard for these types of events. But a couple people said that they preferred everyone playing the same mission and the twists, because they're not overly complicated. You don't have 18, 20, 30 different missions going on at the same time. You can turn to your opponent next to you and be like, hey, how does this work? But the twists added just enough to make it different and keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree.
Great success.
That would be complicated, especially from a TO perspective. Like, having to answer questions in a totally different context and adapt to each mission that's going on would be impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, no, I was extremely happy with how the event went. We had tons of help setting up and tearing down. I still managed to really fuck my back up.
It's a lot of work. I realize. Yeah.
picking up 18 tables, setting up 18 tables, taking 18 tables out of the venue, putting 18 tables back where they belong.
Yeah.
All those boxes, all that stuff. But no, we killed it. We absolutely killed it. And you guys who participated in it and helped set up, because I know you both helped set up the event and tear down. Yeah, it was a blast to just be there.
Yep.
I seriously think that, and of course I'm biased, but this is like the best Warhammer event that you could possibly go to.
Yep.
In 12-hour driving distance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
No, yeah.
I would love to see more people come next year. I'd love to show this event to more people and be like, hey, this is how we like to play Warhammer.
Yeah.
Come join us.
Yeah,
Right?
for real.
Maximum 50 people. That's it. I'm calling it cap there. That's all I want to
We
deal
could
with.
even get into but speaking of which, we can get into an SN Battle Report situation where
You make
it's
people
an
apply.
invite. Yeah, you
Yeah.
apply to join this event, and you approve the players that apply.
Yeah. It's a great way to get that. You can, People were saying, like, oh, you should have run a separate 30K event. I was like, you can offer to run a separate 30K event. I'm not dealing with two things at the same time.
Who said that? Like two people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chaz and John said that.
Chaz showed at the end of day 2, and I was like, hey, Chaz, you really wanted to be in on this, don't you?
So yeah, that's the Hogtowner.
Yeah.
Great. Should we take a pause and maybe have some fun after?
Yeah.
Sounds a great idea.
Fun
time. Ooh.
What do you got there?
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Well, this is a tooth and nail. Adam, I believe you brought this.
Yes, this is... So I guess I only brought Dominion City and Tooth and Nail today. I have one more. We'll look forward to seeing that on the next
Thanks, sir.
podcast.
Yeah.
One more brewery, I may say.
Tooth and Nail is Ottawa, right? Hinchinburg?
Nice one.
There you go.
So do I have a story for you guys?
Okay, so we're continuing on with our Toronto history.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Toronto
do
history
it.
stuff?
You've entered the Toronto history section of the podcast.
Yeah. It's hugely successful. I hear things. People love it.
Yeah, I mean,
So this is, just before you jump in, this is a Belgian-inspired session ale. So usually, session ale is something you could just... It's sessionable, right? You can have a few of them.
yeah.
So this story, like I was telling before we started, has some hydrology, some local geography, say some First Nations folklore, and some cryptozoology.
Cryptozoology.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sasquatch?
Have you been following the news lately?
Not recently.
Because apparently Sasquatch porn is really a big deal in the States right now, and it's influencing elections. Look it up.
I was maybe hoping that you would just tell me.
No,
I
I
really
will
would
not.
not like to invest
I
any
will
more
not.
time into that.
So the Don River, Humber, and Rouge rivers all get the glory, but Toronto is more than just a three-river town. If you look at a map of Toronto with all the underground rivers that are going on, it looks like it's a watershed. That's why Toronto is where it is. Because there's like
and
so many.
A lot of the streets are based off where those underground rivers were.
Yeah. But it's hard to erase a river, and a lot of the waterways that once penetrated downtown Toronto still exist. So they were rerouted into underground culverts or sewers. But one of the biggest rivers is Garrison Creek. Garrison Creek ran through Trinity Bellwoods Park. In fact, I believe it's Grace or Crawford Street in Trinity Bellwoods Park is actually on top of a bridge that is buried. If you look at pictures from the 1920s and 1930s, there's an iron wrought bridge over Trinity Bellwoods Park that they covered in. So you see the road now, but there's a bridge underneath it.
Is it the one that kind of divides the northwest corner of it in half?
Yeah.
Like cuts the park in half almost?
Yep.
Right.
So Garrison Creek went down through Trinity Bellwoods Park, like I said, and it went all the way down to Fort York. Kind of cool. And so it started at up in like St. Clair and Bloor and Christie and all those areas. So as Toronto kept getting built up, we kept building over rivers and building over streams and creeks.
So are we like a Venice of Canada?
There's a lot of stuff that goes on. There's actually, in High Park, there's a really cool pipe that just spurts out into one of the rivers.
That doesn't sound nice.
And you look at it, you're like, why is the water red and rusty? And it's because
It doesn't sound nice at all.
it's a natural spring that it brings up iron water. It's really cool.
Where is this?
So it's exactly
High
what
Park.
it should be, Nick. Don't judge the pipe water.
So I'm going to try to say this right. Meme Guaise are small river water spirits, usually said to inhabit rivers or riverbanks in Algonquin mythology. So they're generally benign creatures, but sometimes they blow canoes astray or steal things when they are not shown proper respect. To some Ojibwe tribes, Meme Guise can only be seen by children and medicine people. In others, they can appear to anyone and may help humans who give them tobacco and other gifts. They're child-sized and hairy with a large head and a strange voice that sounds like the whine of a dragonfly. The Cree and the Innu describe them as having narrow faces, and some storytellers have said that they have no noses. It is sometimes said that the Meme Guise were originally created from the bark of trees, and they carve symbols on rocks and make small canoes for themselves out of stone. I'd like to see that.
a
That'd be
stone
kinda
canoe?
Cool. Yeah.
Uh,
Some people believe
Bet
that
it's
their
good at
name,
one thing.
yeah, sinking.
Sinking.
So some people believe that they are literally called hairy beings, and a lot of the Iroquois and Ojibwe people who lived in the Toronto area before it was taken from them believe that these creatures existed along these rivers. So where did these creatures go when we buried all the rivers I talked about in the first part?
I'm gonna guess this is a Ninja Turtle type situation we've got going on here.
It was a warm summer's day in August of
In the
1978.
the abandoned Bay subway station.
When a Toronto man had an experience with a strange creature that would forever change his life.
Did you say 1968?
1978.
78.
Ernest, who would not allow his first name to be used. His last name, Ernest, who would not allow his first name to be used. That's his last name, apparently. Doesn't make any sense.
Was he being earnest about that?
Was a soft-spoken 51-year-old man at the time of his harrowing experience. He and his wife of 19 years had been raising a litter of kittens, but one of the kittens disappeared, and Ernest decided to search for it in the vicinity of their Parliament Street apartment. So this is happening at Parliament and I believe Carlton at the time.
Okay.
This was 1978. Even downtown Toronto wasn't fully covered over, so Ernest decided to look. And he stumbled into a dark cave and crawled approximately 10 feet into the cave. And this is where he said, and I quote, "I saw a living nightmare that I'll never forget."
I don't think I would crawl into a cave, especially
Armed
a dark one.
Only with a flashlight.
In a city.
No,
Like,
Jesus.
I'd maybe venture into a cave, like, in, like, a cottage
yeah,
country.
yeah. Out in the like.
That's where
summer
bears
light.
will be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but this
true.
is where like
But I'm an idiot city kid, like...
little forest nymphs will be.
So he encountered a creature of unknown origin. He described the creature as long and thin, almost like a monkey, 3 feet long, large teeth, weighing maybe 30 pounds with slate gray eyes. Slate gray fur. However, it was the eyes that truly stood out. Orange and red. Slanted. Ernest spoke reluctantly with reporters as to what happened next. The creature spoke to him. "I'll never forget it," he said. It said, "Go away! Go away!" in a hissing voice. Then it took off down a tunnel off to the side. I was out of there as fast as I could. I was shaking with fear. Ernest never approached the media with his story. He was afraid people would think that he was drunk, or worse, crazy.
That is worse.
Can we pause there for a second?
Sure.
Okay, you guys gotta go downers. And then... we have a Moroccan brown ale from Spearhead Brewing Company, which is apparently in Toronto. Who brought this?
We bought it at the Summerhill LCBO.
Okay. Very
Spirits
nice.
Toronto?
Yep.
No, look, okay, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit worried about this. It says it's beer brewed with raisins, dates, figs, and cinnamon.
Ooh.
I'm generally not a fan of raisins.
They're just little grapes.
Yeah, they're like
Baby grapes.
compact grapes. Call them.
But, like, why would you ruin a butter tart so badly as to put raisins in it?
Adam.
Are we not friends anymore?
Don't even.
I have no issue with raisins.
Actually, I know I
in
would
butter
prefer a
tarts.
pecan or a plain butter tart, but
See what I'm
I'll
saying?
still eat a raisin butter tart.
No, I can't do it. I could put a butter tart with a raisin hidden in it that I couldn't see near my mouth, and my mouth knows that it's in there.
Well, then
I
that's
just have like a sixth sense for raisins.
This smells good.
Didn't you ever get those like little raisin packets when you were a kid at like lunch?
Oh my
I
goodness.
got them at Halloween, and I.
They're the worst. They're the worst at Halloween.
Do you mean there's the square of raisins that come out and you just eat them all
Yep.
together?
So there's only been
And
one
they're
point.
not good for you. It's
Why
just
are they
pure
not good for you?
sugar?
Yeah, but like natural sugar, it's not like high fructose corn syrup.
Sugar's sugar.
Eye roll. Nick G. Eye roll.
I roll.
Okay, so there's only been one moment ever in my life where I've really been disappointed by my own daughter, who's a year and a half, who cannot do a lot of things that disappoint me, is when she picked up one of those packets of grapes, of raisins and annihilated it. Just
Dehydrated grapes.
just like, give me all the grapes, Daddy. And I was like, no, why do you like these things? Anyway. So here we go. How does it taste?
Tell us about the cryptids.
It's interesting. Not bad.
It's not
I like
okay,
that.
but could you guys look at this for a second?
Yeah, it's super unfiltered.
Yours is.
Yeah, like
Did you get the last?
I think I might have poured
You might-
mine last.
Yeah. I think we might have had to shake that up. Oh well.
That's like the first thing your brain thinks of, and then you
So-
realize it's not a good idea.
No.
Definitely.
Anyways.
So Ernest was looking for his kitten
Yep.
underneath, and he saw a Mamaguise.
Sure.
What
That's
was
what he
it?
thinks he saw. But again, he was afraid that people would think he was drunk, or worse, quote, crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And felt that no one would ever believe him. Luckily enough, there is a newspaper in this city that has the journalistic integrity
Oh my
to
God.
investigate these types of stories.
Who is it?
The Toronto Sun found him after hearing about his experience from a reliable contact who worked with a relative of Ernest. That's journalism.
Yeah, totally.
From a friend of a friend of a friend.
Oh my god.
Only one of a handful of people who he had confided the experience to. He would only agree to talk if his last name was the only one that was revealed. I believe Ernie when he saw exactly what he says he saw, says Barbara, Ernest's wife.
Barbara Ernest. I think we could do the math here. Probably figure out who he is.
He was terrified when he came back to the apartment, and he doesn't scare easily. Look, he's been known to have had a drink in the past, like most people, and to occasionally tie one on, but he's not a drunk, and he wasn't drinking at all that day. The Toronto Sun did question some of Ernest's relatives and neighborhood acquaintances, and what they found all supported Barbara's evaluation of her husband. Ernest, accompanied by Sun staff, returned to the location of his strange sighting. The cave's entrance was located at the bottom of a narrow passageway between the building where he lived and the next one down. Together they found the corpse of a cat, which was half buried in the tunnel. Ernest said this was not the same kitten that he had lost.
What happened to the kitten?
Yeah.
I'm really...
Is this just coming in now, or did we forget about the cat?
Ernest showed the Sun reporter exactly where he saw the strange being. He stated, quote, "The last I saw the creature, it was headed off into the dark," end quote. The passage seemed to drop down very quickly and to go a long way back. It was speculated that the tunnel, in fact, led to the sewer system, and that the entranceway besides Ernest's apartment was an access point used by the creature to get to the surface. Safety concerns promoted Toronto's sewer department to thoroughly inspect the area, as it was feared that children may in fact try to enter it. Ernest's story was very strange. However, sewage employees did not ridicule or scoff at it, according to the report made by the Toronto Sun at the time. One worker was quoted as saying, "People who work on the surface just don't know what it's like down there. It's a whole different world. Who would have thought a few years ago that people would live in sewers, and yet that's what they found in New York a few years ago."
Are they referencing the Ninja Turtles in that? I'm pretty sure they're referencing the Ninja Turtles.
I don't know what Ernest saw down there, but I'll tell you one thing. If we could go in there, I sure as hell wouldn't want to go in there alone.
Oh my god.
It is interesting to note that the description of the creature provided by Ernest and an artist rendering, which was included in the original Toronto Sun article, resemble current reports of another strange creature, the South American chupacabra.
The chupacabra, I'm pretty sure has a nose.
And this was an actual article in the Toronto Sun in 1978.
Okay,
the
so
tunnel monster of Cabbagetown.
So
Can I see the alleged image? Oh, jeez.
So at what point did the Toronto Sun become a tabloid? Was that like earlier? Is that then?
Right then.
Right then.
At
That's
that
it.
point.
I mean, that was like 30 years ago.
Yeah. How times change, right? So I mean, like, obviously not having a nose makes you inherently scary. If you look at Sith Lord Snoke doesn't have a nose.
But he's not human.
But he doesn't have a nose, therefore you're scared of him. Same with Voldemort doesn't have a nose.
It's an extremely human-centric way of thinking of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, but I know. But what it means
Not
is
just
that
Star Wars.
by saying that you don't have a nose, you're inherently scary.
Yeah. So here's why Ernest didn't want to reveal his full name. "I'm in the phone book," he said. "I couldn't stand being called by a bunch of cranks."
That's probably actually kind of smart. It's a smart idea. I mean, I think it's, it is kind of telling that, like, he releases his wife's name, Barbara Ernest.
But
she's not in the phone book.
This article goes on about how this particular area of Toronto is intersected by ley lines.
Are there?
Probably not, because they're not real.
Listen, there's got to be some ley lines around here. That is, I mean, I'm really happy that we have our own kind of cryptozoology that's occurring in Toronto. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love little stories like this. I love being able to tell. I mean, I don't believe it in a second, but I love the idea. Sorry.
What?
Sorry, Nick.
Did you
Sorry.
hear that sewage worker?
See, he's one of these cranks that we're all worried about getting called.
Listen, Nick.
Ernest,
you're either,
Ernest, you're lying.
You're either drunk or you're crazy. Okay. And I don't.
I've been known to have a drink and to sometimes tie one on. Okay, but I was not. I've been drinking.
But I love stories like this. I think that they add to like a local mythology. I love that they add a little bit of flavor to it. I love being able to tell your kids these kind of like little horror stories.
Exactly.
That's great.
Awesome.
And I am proud that Toronto has one, even if Ernest is the only one who saw it.
The Mama Guise.
Is that what it is?
Sure.
I feel like that's from what's that TV show on Netflix?
Which one?
Supernatural.
No, yeah. It's about two brothers. One of them has like given in to this whole. Oh man, it's been way too long. Is it called like not Bloodlines?
You're talking about Supernatural.
No, it's no.
The two sentences there was 100% Supernatural.
Yeah, but it has this. Oh, you're right. There's no way I can explain it to you. There's no way I can explain it to you to make it not sound like Supernatural. At one point, they show up at a. So the bad guys are like vampire snake people.
True Blood?
True Blood? No, not True Blood. That's a good guess, though. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
Vampire
struggling to
snake
explain this
people.
properly.
Paul, edit over this with the answer now.
Anyway, hey, well, so there's a post that went up 3 hours ago, just so you know, in the 2018 Hogtowner 40K League.
What is it?
The first best overall thus far and second best overall thus far are also you and I.
What?
But I am first.
Oh
and
my.
you are second, sir.
What?
Oh.
What? Oh no.
It's on.
It's the standings for the Hogtown League.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Check it out.
That's awesome.
All right, thanks for joining us, guys. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night listening to these two gush about their performance in the Hogtowner and our league. But thanks for coming out, and again, thanks for helping set up and tear down the fantastic event. And I hope you guys had fun.
What a great event! And hey, I tried to do this right at the end of the event when we were tearing down, but I think it was missed because it was so hectic with the teardown. But I'm going to look you in the eyes and tell you one more time. Thank you, and thank you to every other volunteer for just like taking so much time and pouring your heart out and all your extra effort and energy out to really make it happen.
I'm glad you guys had fun.
Yeah.
That was the whole point.
Yeah.
Cool. Have a good night, guys.
Right, see you next year.
Like a monkey in a rocket on his way back home. Okay.